No way. Who's the first?
The guy that did the fucking treatment on me.
Really? He wanted to interview you himself?
He's in that whole community. Like, he does that for people, like, helps people. Like, he goes around the country and, like, treats people with, like, psilocybin. Because he has a medical exemption because he's through a church.
That's insane.
So he went down to Mexico and he actually paid for the treatment. And he met some of the counselors down in Mexico and brought it back to the States. And, you know, he just, like, couldn't take the fact that, like, people needed help and, like, he could help them. So he's a really smart guy too.
Yeah.
Like, when he, like, did you like calculate your body weight and all that shit when you did your treatment to yourself?
Honestly, I didn't go that far, but I did the date, I did my age, I did how I was feeling with every thought. I should have done my body weight. Oh my goodness. That is scientific.
So he's actually down to that level.
Test.
Where he calculates out your body weight. He gives you the dosage that you are.
I'll let you mic yourself up. You can put it as long as it's exposed. Even if it's in your shirt, I can always turn up the volume. But this is the magnet, so you just like clip it on wherever you'd like. Or you don't even need the magnet if you want to just look.
That fucking thing's
If you want to, yeah. If you want to just like, there's literally a clip. Yeah, just like that. These things are nice. They're like the top of the line.
Are they expensive?
Yeah, this is like the legit, like the most professional streamers. They all use this one. Like this thing was like $500.
What?
For the two mics. It might have been $400. I think I got a deal.
You ever watch that kid Sam Sulik?
Sam Sulik.
He's that like kid that like everybody's in awe of being like a super big bodybuilder at like 20 years old or something.
I'm so terrible with names. I'm sure I've seen him on my Instagram feed or something.
Yeah, you had to have, because he's always wearing these things on his fucking hat.
Yeah. Some people wear them on their hats. Some people put them on their shirts. Struggling to find where I want this thing. I think I'm gonna just settle for the magnet. Well, it's not clipping through there. Good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect.
How do you know they're working?
So this thing right here is the receiver. And so...
Oh, okay. So you can see the little green thing?
This one's mine, that one's yours. I can turn up the volume. I like to make them a little louder so I can always like post edit and like turn it down if I need to, because my first episode, it was way too quiet. And I was like, fuck.
Who did you interview? What did you interview first? Like, what?
So it was this guy named Donnie. He's actually a member at the Y. And he's a addict in recovery for 40 years plus. Heroin addict. He was the whole nine, whole nine, everything and more. Like every drug you can name, he's done. And the fact that he beat it is just phenomenal. And he's an author of 2 books, Suck Up the Purple Buttermilk and Passion in the Fire. But I'll definitely share all that good podcast. I'll send you my episode 1 and 2. We're on the ice today. Welcome one, welcome all. You're listening to Care2Talk. Joining me today is my good friend Hunter. Met him here at the Y, and he's asked me, to remain partially private, so I'm not going to go too much into the personal questions, but I do want to get a little bit of your professional background. And, you told me you went and served at the Marine Corps, but I definitely wanted to start off. Again, first, thank you for taking the time to join me today. And I do want to start off with, before the Marine Corps, what was your occupational history growing up to get you to that point?
Well, so I grew up, my father owned his own company, and I used to work for him. He owned a cleaning business.
Okay.
And actually, my father was a second lieutenant in the Army, and he was in college at the time, so he did not get sent to Vietnam.
No kidding. Wow.
And so I was raised very, I guess I would say I was raised in a, kind of upper class household. I have 3 sisters, and we went to church every Sunday.
Wow.
I went to Catholic school.
No kidding.
We went to great schools, great family. My family was definitely hardworking. My father was really hardworking. So it was I guess it was like back then it was your standard childhood. You went to school, we played sports. All of us played sports. Everybody in my family was super, super talented at sports. And then my father was actually getting ready to retire, and we moved to Vermont. And he died when I was 17. We were in high school.
Sorry to hear that. That's
so
early.
The whole dynamic of our family changed. And that was kind of like spiraling the wrong direction. And, he was the glue that held our family together.
Sure.
And at the time, my mom didn't really understand how to handle it. I look back now and I'm like, I feel bad because you can't, you have anger towards her because she wasn't there, like saying, being the mother that she could have been, because she was going through her own
Right.
struggles at the time with 3 kids or 2. So my older sister was in college, my little sister was at home, I was at home. My older sister dropped out of college to came home and help out.
Oh, wow.
And my dad died of cancer, so she was down in Massachusetts with my father treating him, and we were living in Vermont going to school. So we were 2 different states away. So that's how we started out as kids, and everything kind of just, there was no plan, there was no like set schedule, like that's the part of when you're young at that age, you lose a parental figure like your father, like especially for a boy. It's kind of like your direction. You don't really, there's nobody there to help direct you.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
And so basically it was just kind of just chaos, and that's how
going in the dark.
That's how you start out, when you're in a situation that you don't know. You just do the best you can. And like I said, my mom she was a great mother, but like I said at the time, I think that she just was overwhelmed at the fact. I mean, we were living in 2 different states, down here and up there, so she had to take care of all of selling our house down here,
wow,
moving up there, taking care of us. So she was overwhelmed. And you could, like I said, looking back now, you have this, like, or at least, for me, I always had this kind of anger towards her. But like, I look back and I'm like, that was anger just at the situation. I was directly taking it out on her. And that's where me and me and my mother fell apart hard, was because I didn't understand, being a young boy,
what the world was. And
there was nothing that, like, my father was preparing me to take over his company.
What did you do for a company again? You said
he owned a carpet cleaning company.
Oh, okay. Carpet cleaning.
And he was very successful.
Did you work with him with that when you were 17 or 16?
I worked with him my whole life.
Wow.
So like since I could walk.
Wow.
I was in my heritage is Italian. So like in an American Italian family, my grandmother was pretty Italian. Like,
hence the Catholic.
Yes. Yep. So like we, the boys always like, you're going to work with your dad.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how old you are, and so that was the beginning stages of life. And then from there, it just kind of went like, I ended up actually homeless for a while in high school.
No way.
Yep. I lived in the woods in Vermont for 2 years.
Just because you had a falling out with your mom?
Yep.
Damn.
Yep. So I kind of was just like a stray. Like I after 17 years old, I kind of raised myself. And, like I said, you kind of look back on it, and you can't change what happened in the past, but, going forward. But I think that is the start of what led up to the rest of our interview here, because that was the start of
The story.
the story of where it took me to at 43.
Which, before we get to that, which, again, guys, for those who don't know, I think this story in particular has a very powerful perspective here when it comes to just the whole, the Marines, and then, I do, before I even get to, the 43 later in life, right? When did you join the Marines? Probably
2000.
2000, that was when you were 18, 19?
Yeah, I was 18.
Okay, wow. And I guess it beats being homeless, right? That was probably the motivating factor.
So, we're sitting out here on a lake right now, and this is what it felt like, because I was living in Vermont.
No kidding.
In the middle of the woods with no heat, and this
Yep.
is what it felt like trying to sleep.
Jesus.
So,
That's brutal.
yes, there's a lot of...
Vermont's not the best place to be homeless.
No, I can remember nights that were negative 20.
God.
And yeah, I had I guess after living a pretty privileged life to 17, and then going from that to living in the woods by yourself at 17, 18 years old.
Talk about a shock.
Huge. So,
jeez.
See, there's all sorts of things that you do in the past, and they shape your future. And realistically, like, I am religious, and what's God's plan for you. So,
right.
And then further on the story, you'll understand some of the other things that come up.
It's unfortunate you can't kind of understand that until
you
make those mistakes.
It's like rewind, fast forward, because you're like, you start understanding now why you are where you are, kind of, and yeah, that's what. Unfortunately, it's taken me this long to recognize all the things that created trauma and issues in your life, and the sad part is like, people around you can't understand you, because you can't explain it as well as people need to understand you. Like, you can't explain it as well as you need to explain it for people to actually understand you,
especially if they haven't gone through something similar.
It has been so hard to try to like I've met some very smart and talented people, and I try to listen to people that have wisdom, and
absolutely,
and they always try to tell you to look for the good in things, but it's sometimes super, super difficult when you're down in the dumps to like sit there and try to pick out anything positive that you can pick out in order to kind of raise yourself up. Because if you're always living in negativity, you can't ever move forward.
I definitely want to talk and dive deep into like that whole aspect of just how do you recognize all the trauma and acknowledge that and do the quote unquote shadow work, which is what most people are calling it nowadays, of just like healing all of that. But before we even get to that trauma, I want to get to like what caused that a little bit, if you don't mind talking about it. I know talking about trauma can be traumatic in and of itself. But how long did you serve in the Marines?
6 years.
6 years. And you said you even served in Iraq?
Multiple times.
Wow, that's something.
And that's not what defines me either.
Absolutely.
That was just a blip on the screen.
For sure.
It was a time in life that I didn't know what to do, where to go, because like I said, when you lose a parental figure that huge in your life, there was nobody else that filled the void. Like, there was nobody else in my life that came to help. I was literally, when he was gone, I was literally on my own. And to be honest with you, we're going to fast forward again to 43 years. It's taken me 40 years to get
holy smokes
to this, where we're sitting here talking to you now about this, because for 20 of those years, I was just pushing it deep down, not feeling it, not understanding, because that was kind of like the way you were taught.
Yeah.
Was
Be a
to
man.
be a man,
Bottle it up.
suck it up, move
That's
on.
such a terrible mentality, unfortunately.
It is, and it isn't, because unfortunately the world is not not easy.
Absolutely. It goes both ways. An extremeness is like too much of it is definitely, toxic, but like I do agree that the world's too soft right now.
Yes.
And they need to have some of those hard lessons brought back again. But did you at least have a favorite part of the Marines? Did you?
Yeah, there was a lot of fun things.
Okay.
I like guns.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
guns were, positive. You
Yep.
know, the camaraderie's definitely a positive.
Hell yeah.
That's actually a big negative to a lot of guys getting out, is that like you're given a lot of responsibility and a lot of things that, like, when you come into the real world, you feel like you're useless, because like you're so far advanced from everybody else that's walking around, that like you just don't feel right being around people that don't know. And you can't, that's another thing, you can't explain this to anybody. It's like,
we're trying to. We're gonna try.
yeah.
We might fail, but
there's a lot of there's a lot of things that people do understand. Like I said, the camaraderie is a big thing, because like when you're a young man, no direction, and you need structure.
Yeah.
Because if there's nothing that you are striving for, that's how you end up in bad situations, because you don't have a drive to do anything.
So you just have so much free time to get into trouble.
Yeah. Like, and then when you get into trouble, it's like it's like a wheel. It just keeps going round and round and round, and you can't ever get out of trouble.
Right.
So
did you have a least favorite part of the service?
Running.
You seem like a fairly in shape kind of guy. You did tell me a little bit about, you said you got shot. You said
Yep.
You got blown up.
Yep.
That was not as least favorite as running. Running was worse.
Those were running. Running goes back to high school.
Oh, okay. There's some trauma there when it comes to.
Oh my God, we used to be such creative kids in high school that our coaches would get mad at us. And I remember, like, I ran the entire practice for multiple practices.
Jeez.
And I mean like 60, 70, 80 laps. And I don't mean like around the small track. I mean big loops around the country.
Sure.
And yeah, running. I listen, I said this to somebody the other day at work, actually. I said, the only thing I'm running from is a guy with a knife or a bear. That's what's going to get me to run.
Yeah, right.
I
they
don't,
say you shouldn't run from bears. They say
you shouldn't run from bears. But we did run from a bear way. Oh yeah, there was 4 of us. We were camping, and Mama Bear had 2 baby cubs with her.
Oh, that might be when you want to run, actually.
Well,
right?
yeah,
Mama bears with their cubs.
Yeah, she wasn't too happy.
Jeez.
Yeah, so we ran, but that was also back in high school.
Wow, wow, that's a story.
That is another story.
But a little bit on the, if you don't mind sharing, when you first got shot, how many times? Just once?
Yeah.
I'm sure that was in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the most traumatic event you've experienced, at least physically, at the time? Like, as far as like physical pain and like. It's no? Wow.
I think it's. I was fortunate. It caught the plate.
Oh, thank God.
There's a SAPI plate. It's a steel plate, and it caught the plate. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't happy. It felt like I got hit by like a baseball bat. Like,
but it didn't pierce the skin,
no.
Thankfully. Oh my goodness.
Not
many people in this world have gotten actually shot, let alone shot at. But
I can tell you right now, a kid I know got shot through the door 7 times with a crack that was like 3 inches.
God.
He got shot from his like kneecap all the way up to his chest. Just the
Holy.
luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah,
he's
sounds
still,
like it.
he's still alive.
Wow.
Survived, but he got shot multiple times from a PKM machine gun.
Oh my God. That is.
So as far as pain, I was very fortunate. So we were back in the time when they weren't super aggressive at making things that go boom big. I mean,
drones and everything weren't a thing that much as today.
That was, I don't even think we knew what drones were back then. I mean, when you go back, that was 20 something years ago.
That's crazy
So,
how
like,
fast technology's come along.
The technology's come so far. It's unreal that like now, like watching some of the videos in Ukraine.
Oh my God, with the drones and everything.
I would be terrified because there's like those things, they make barely any noise and they're dropping freaking bombs on you from the air. It's not like there's a helicopter overhead. There's a little drone and it's wild.
That is nuts.
So like nowadays, the technology is so much different. Body armor is different. The vehicles are different. Everything's different. So back then was like, I guess it'd be like us being in Vietnam, from Vietnam to the, early 2000s. Like that's how much.
Wow.
But let's take in mind some of the Vietnam era equipment came with us. That had like 1969, 70, some stuff from Vietnam came over. So it was definitely lower technology. The armor wasn't there. They didn't have all the fancy trucks they have now.
What do you mean some of the tech from Vietnam came with us? Their tech?
No, our tech.
Our tech.
Our tech. Okay, so like some of the weapons from Vietnam were still in use in Iraq in 2000s. Yep. So
I guess, a solid AK-47 holds up, over time.
It was more like rockets, like rockets and stuff like that. Yeah, they had rockets from the Vietnam era.
Wow. That's wild to think about, actually.
Yeah.
Vietnam was what?
In the 60s?
60s?
Later 70s, I think. Not later, maybe mid-70s.
60 years ago.
Yeah. Yep, they still had some of the technology from Vietnam.
It's crazy seeing Vietnam vets and like most of them going through, tremendous substance abuse, and a lot of them stopping when they came back home after the war, but a lot of them, still struggled. Obviously, there's tons of stuff when it comes to that, like studies of like, the people who had families and married and had families who they came back, they stopped doing the drugs. Because they, it makes you think, we do drugs and we do stuff to replace this gap that's missing, whether that's family.
Oh, I can't wait to get into this one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So before we do, would you, I guess, say the service led to your alcohol addiction, or was it something of the trauma before that and the service just contributed to the alcoholism that you were facing?
I wouldn't say at all. I would say that I'd say life is hard for everybody in general. Yes,
that's true.
I'll say that war and watching people die is not pleasant, but that is part of life, unfortunately. And I think it was just a time in life. I think that I think everything in life contributes to a certain extent. I can't sit here and say I think it was one. I can tell you one. I can tell you for certain that I know when I started drinking, and when it got out of control. And I know it was like a light switch went off in my head because I never drank.
You're very conscious of it.
I was very conscious. I was conscious to the point of now I look back and I'm like, I don't want to go into this story because this is like fast forward, then rewind.
Right.
So.
But maybe in the moment you weren't as conscious, but looking back on it, you can see.
I wasn't conscious at all at that time. But I think human beings can deal with a lot of trauma. And I think I think basically what it came down to in the end for me was my trauma glass was overflowing. A lot of people, especially at my age, when all this stuff happened, hadn't ever experienced the amount of trauma. And this isn't like poor me.
Right.
This is just reality. Like,
Absolutely.
I can sit here and say that I know 40-year-old guys that haven't been through a 16th of what I've been through, what you've been through, what a lot of people been through,
but they sometimes act like it.
And they sometimes
because they don't
like
have
it.
a big. I like how you put it, a trauma glass. Sometimes that trauma glass, is a massive tub, and sometimes that trauma glass is a little cup. And
1000%.
I believe you can train that glass to make it bigger. But if you go through a very sheltered life or a very snowflakey kind of softness, of course you're gonna have a small trauma cup.
Yes.
And you think, someone cutting you off in traffic's the worst traumatic event of your life, and that's where road rage comes from.
That is very, very, very accurate, and I think realistically for me, my trauma glass grew immensely after my father died, because I had no choice. Like, it's either accept it or die.
That is a very traumatic event to lose a dad that young. Unfortunately, a lot of people go through it. Fortunately, not everybody, but a lot of people do unfortunately lose their father at such a young age. I think something about a man losing their father or a woman losing their mother is like the worst, because it's like you have no true like guide to literally relate to on that deep gender level.
You don't. So at my age, at that age, for me, this is all self-reflection at this point. I look back at that and I'm like, for me, at 17 years old, that's a huge developmental stage for a young man.
Absolutely.
And when your guidance is gone, like, it's like you just hit the eject button. Like, where do you go? What do you do? Who do you talk to?
Do you ever get suicidal at some point?
Never.
Wow.
Not then.
That's
I was
awesome.
angry. I was angry. I was really angry, and because
But it was still worth living. Life was still.
Yeah, I never at that point was never crossed my mind once. As a matter of fact, it's we're gonna go forward and then go back.
Yeah, it's all right.
So we'll wait till we get a little further on in the interview for that one. But no, not at that time. I did not feel. I just felt angry. I was mad because I knew that I was going to have a great future, and then it was all just like over. Because, like I said, my dad was teaching me how to take over his company at the time, and it was just a whole different life.
After he passed, what happened to his company?
That's another.
Sorry, all these tangents.
So this is what I'm saying about Trauma Cup, because like all these things just, like I said, my mom was going through some hard times, and she wasn't paying attention, and somebody actually just got it for free.
Damn, that's insane.
Still in business right now.
That is insane.
So it goes. Like I said, there's not one specific thing I point to in life that has got me to the point where I'm at now. It's everything. Because like I said, just in those 3 years, I lost my dad, lost his company, lost my mom, lost my sisters, lost my fucking house.
Everything.
And that's just in a short period as a kid. And everybody at that age, everybody thinks, oh yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. You don't start knowing really what life is about, in my opinion, until you're in your 30s. You can go through all life in your 20s, and you're full of piss.
The true meaning, right? The true purpose. That's what we really want to know, and it's like.
Yeah, because you've already lived. So everybody has this thought in their head, like midlife is like 60s. Sorry, midlife is in your 30s, your late 30s. 38 they say is your midlife
crisis. Yeah.
For your average lifespan of a human being now, they say like in 38, 39 is your midlife. So everybody has this notion of like when you're 50, 60, that's your midlife. No, I'm past my midlife. And you're like, what did I do with my life? And then you look back and you're like, all I did was survive.
Sure.
And at that point, like, it's like you never had the time to like try to succeed in any one specific thing because you're always too busy fighting to just survive. So like everybody around you may have like succeeded immensely, but then you're like, damn, I wish I could have had like a little easier piece of life. But then is that God's plan? Or I feel like I talk to some friends about this stuff on, a pretty regular basis, because unfortunately for guys, people don't care. Like, we're just supposed to just be.
I mean, they say they do, but they don't.
They don't.
It's like, how are you?
Yeah.
And then that's it.
A man has no relief from society.
Just go to therapy. Just, half the therapists out there, you can't really tell them how you really feel, or they're gonna, report you to whoever.
They'll report you. They'll stick you on some bullshit medication.
Medication, yeah.
It's like,
oh my God,
it's another Band-Aid, and that's what ultimately led to my drinking. Was a Band-Aid.
And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's some great therapists out there.
I will never, ever, ever shit on anybody.
Yeah.
If going to therapy helps you, go to therapy.
Absolutely.
If reading a book helps you, take a walk. Read a book. Like, if taking a walk helps you. And that's
Absolutely.
now in my later life is me saying to you, these are things that I'm like, I would sit there and, make fun of people that go to therapy, like, because like, to me, it's just a weakness.
Be a man. Don't talk about your feelings.
Suck it up. But
yeah,
at the same point, for me, it's not ideal. It doesn't work for me. I have been. My mom actually made us go when we were young, after my father died, to try to like give us the best chance of moving forward in life. And from an early age, I didn't see anything that I wanted to talk to them about. Not that they would know in the first place. I would rather talk to a buddy of mine who actually understands, like, if you have like one or two close friends in your life, and I mean like, I don't mean like, just like acquaintances, because I have acquaintances, but I don't have the friends that I used to have anymore. And that's going to lead down the road of drinking. So yeah, there's, if doing anything, and I don't care what it is, if anything helps you, I will never, ever say two negative things. I don't care if it's, knitting socks.
Right.
If that helps you get through life,
crochet all you want.
I don't care. I think, like I said, I would rather see you knit socks all day than take some prescription drug that they're going to get you addicted to. And they know this.
Yeah.
There's no way that these companies don't know what they're doing to you.
Unbelievable that we have regressed into this state of pill popping and trying to find that magic pill to fix all of our problems, which it causes 10 more problems that we need 10 more pills for.
There lies in the problem. So after...
Can't profit off health.
You can't. There's nothing to benefit from having a healthy human being.
So a little bit back to your sobriety. How many years of sobriety do you have now?
I only have a year and 4 months.
Only? That's amazing. Congratulations.
Only a year and 4 months.
Congratulations, man. That's
Thank
awesome. You. And I want to talk about the metaphorical fence of, they say people are on when they're teetering between addiction and sobriety, and they're always on this fence. What made you hop off the fence to join the sobriety? What was that moment? That's the story that I want to dive into.
So it's easy for me to say now. It wasn't easy for me to see. That would be when I realized I was going to lose everything. And everything means people. So I still lost them. But what are you going to do? You know, there's only so much you can do when you wake up too late. But I,
Was this a family at the time, or the talking about your ex at the time?
yep, ex and 2 kids. And
Damn,
yeah, seeing that sucked.
that sucks.
And putting them through what I put through sucked. So yeah, I mean that was
That's tough.
a lot.
But it was them that made you want to change.
Yeah.
And that first day of sobriety, day 1, what was that day like? Talk about a story.
Give me 1 sec. I'm freaking drooling out my nose here now.
Oh, it's getting cold. Oh, no. It's like 28 degrees less than that.
That first day was like hell. And it wasn't that first day that was hell. It was like that whole couple years was hell. Like, I didn't know what I was doing to them. I didn't care what I was doing to myself at that point. Like, I was literally like, just fucking take me. I like don't want to do this anymore. Done. Like, I didn't care. So that's what built up 40 years was fucking
Trauma glass overflowing.
overflowing. Like, I can't even tell you how overflowing it is. Like, and I said that to a friend of mine, and I said to him, I was like, listen, you can only take so much, and this goes across the board for everybody. You can only take so much before enough is enough. I don't care who you are.
Sure.
Like, there's only so much you can put up with before you just, like, what's the point? What am I doing? And that's where I explained earlier was that, like, if you don't have guidance or you don't have some purpose in life, it's kind of like you just throw your hands up. What do you do?
Life takes you wherever it wants to take you.
You may end up homeless under a bridge. You may end up homeless in the woods.
And it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody, especially if you think it can never happen to you.
It can definitely happen to anybody. But there's just so much to talk about. It's freaking nuts. I can't even, it's just so much. People don't even, that's the problem with this. There's so much that you hold in burden that you can't explain. And that's, so ultimately I can say, I don't know, are we far enough along now? So like,
absolutely.
So my best friend, who was the one person in my life that I always could count on, killed himself.
Jesus.
And after
this was before you were sober, or?
I never drank, never did drugs, nothing.
Oh, this was a while ago. Okay.
2017.
Wow.
2017. So my entire life, I was an athlete. I was a, hard worker. I never drank. I never smoked weed, never did drugs. And that's the ironic part.
That's impressive.
And
even during the military?
Nope.
Wow.
I mean, drink. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
drink. Yeah, I know what you mean.
We'd go to the bar and drink.
Yeah.
But it never had a hold on me.
Didn't regress into
Nope. So I made it all the way till I was like 30s, late 30s, without drinking, without doing drugs. Like, aside from the doctor putting me on a very high dose of Klonopin. And I was on those for 7 years.
Wow.
And
did you prescribe that for PTSD or no?
Yep.
Okay.
And that was another reason that I look back in life and I'm like, just like you said, these drugs lead to like,
Why does my anti-depression medication have a side effect of depression?
so the Klonopins, yeah,
Oh God.
they put me on those at a high dosage, and I was on those for 7 years. And people take them recreationally. I don't get it, because to me it never did anything other than like make me normal. And when I mean normal, like
Numbed a little bit.
Well, no, like I always felt like I was going to explode. Like I was always just full of stress or full of like some anxiety, just for whatever reason. I'd just be sitting here and I could never sit still. Like I still can't do it as well, but like I was really bad then, and they prescribed me them, and I never realized what it was. And yeah, and then one day after 7 years, the doctor's like, "You need to come see me." I'm like, "No." Prescribed to me over the phone. She said no. I didn't sleep for 3 months.
Jesus.
Coming off was miserable. That was my choice. I said, you know what?
Enough is enough.
I don't want to be dependent on something anymore.
That's what it really is. It's the independence from substances, independence from doctors, independence from anything, really.
Yeah.
It's no freedom in dependency.
No, there isn't. And when you're looking at your prescription bottle going, shit, I need to get to the doctor to get my prescription refilled, that's a problem. Like you plan your weekends around making sure your prescription's filled. Or you plan your life around your prescription bottle. It's like, what kind of life is that? Like, so yeah, like I didn't my whole life I've never gone to rehab. I've never done anything like that. I've done it all myself.
No AA meetings or?
Nope.
Wow.
Not for the Klonopins.
Oh, okay.
I stopped going to the doctor for those, and she stopped.
Just sheer willpower.
Sheer willpower. And like I said, for 3 months I didn't sleep. Like, not at all. Like I couldn't. Like those are very, very addictive drugs.
Like no naps or anything? Like cat naps, I'm sure, like 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there.
What I used to do, this is not a recommendation. I used to take Z-Quil and Tylenol PM at the same time to try to fall asleep.
Jesus.
And yeah, I mean, I would sleep, but what kind of sleep is that?
Yeah.
That's just so like I could function to go to work the next day.
Holy shit.
And take in mind, like, I'm doing all this on my own. I don't have any support from anybody. So I ended up taking that part of life and getting rid of those drugs, and it sucked. And anybody asks me about this in the future or hears this podcast, I don't have like, I'm not going to sit here and like lie and say this is easy, because it's not easy. But like I can sit here and tell you that like I did it on my own.
It's possible to do it on your own.
1,000%. 1,000%. It's
probably the hardest way to do it, but
it's very, very difficult. Very difficult. And that's why I said if you find something to help you stop doing whatever substance you're doing, I don't care if it's drinking water.
Do you think God helped you a little bit?
I think maybe. I think you know.
Were you like using prayer, or were you using anything like that to get you through it?
No. I do think that God has built me differently. I think that he's built me to a point, like we all live and die, right? But my theory is that we live and die, but we come back. So you have parts of your life where you have these moments where you're like, shit, I've been here before. I know this.
Yeah. Deja vu.
And, you know, my mom said to me one time, she goes, when you live a hard life on earth, it's preparing you for an easier life in the future. So you live your physical being here on earth, and it's because I lived an easy life in my past. So God, our creator, whoever is teaching me that, I don't know what he's teaching me yet.
Something, hopefully. Oh,
He's teaching me that life is hard.
yeah.
And yeah, like that's what I feel like the lesson is right now is like, listen, I'm going to stick and hold my foot on your head underwater for as long as I can. Are you going to swim or are you going to drown?
Mm.
And I was drowning for a long time. And yeah, so I think that anything is possible to stop. I think it's realistically, I don't have any urge to do them. I don't have any urge to be back on that medication. I don't have.
Now you don't, but in the moment, did you?
I did because I didn't want to feel that shittiness anymore. And that's the only reason why.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it.
But once you got through it,
It's taken years to get through it.
Mm.
But in the end, it was worth the struggle.
Absolutely.
And to this day right now, and that was 7 years ago I stopped taking those.
Wow.
And I haven't looked back since. But fast forward, or no, that was 7 years ago. Now the drinking came into play. So my best friend killed himself.
That's what triggered the drinking.
I remember after his funeral going to the bar and just fucking drinking.
Slippery slope began.
You want to know the ironic part? He was an alcoholic.
Mm.
Do you know what killed him?
Drinking.
His parents sent him to rehab. He went away for a month. And, you know, I can look back now and say, hey, listen, I know he was an alcoholic because I didn't know anybody in my life nobody in my life was an alcoholic. Nobody in my life was a drug addict. I knew nobody. I knew people's parents drank, but nothing that made me like, oh shit.
Yeah.
They're alcoholics.
That's the stuff you saw on TV. And
that was all fiction to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that. So I look back now and I'm like, damn, he was a bad alcoholic. Like, he used to tell me he was drinking before high school, like drinking in the shower at his house before high school. I remember going to parties and he was always like saving the beer afterwards. I didn't want to look at a beer the next day. Like, I would take a 30 pack and just throw it out because I didn't want to see it because I felt like such hammered shit.
Yeah.
That like, and he'd just be saving it. I'm like, what's wrong with you? It wasn't until he got sent, he lost his wife, he lost his kid, he lost his house, he lost his job. And fortunately at that time he had his family, and his family sent him to rehab. He went to rehab for a month and he came back, and the first thing he did, we went out to dinner. He fucking drank. I'm like, are you serious, dude? Are you serious? And he told me, so this is the weird part. He told me that when he was in rehab, he wanted to go up to a special place that we had been together for my whole life and drink himself to death.
When he was in rehab?
That was one of his things when he was in rehab. He was in such a bad place that all he wanted to do was get out of there and go drink himself to death. So he came out.
Did you meet him in Vermont? This is a friend from...
Nope, Massachusetts kid.
Wow.
And that's the thing about him. He was one of those friends where, you know, even though I moved away, we could lose touch and never lose touch.
Yeah.
Like, he was like my brother. And yeah, so we always he was a wild dude. He was wild.
Did he ever go in the military?
No.
Okay.
Nope. He was destined for something else, but he ended up getting in a bad way. And yeah, he did. And the worst part was, right before I found out he killed himself, him and I got in a fight. And I was like, leave. I don't want to see you. And I didn't talk to him for a month. And the next phone call I got was from his family saying he's dead. I'm like, what? So I didn't get it. Like, maybe.
Just came out of nowhere.
No. I think potentially, not that it was my fault, but I think that it didn't help him, me kicking him out of my life at that time. And it wasn't kicking him out of my life. I was just fed up.
Couldn't be surrounded.
Yeah.
With it.
And I was like, yeah. So that was something that really, there's a lot that happened between that time period that also contributed to things. But to me, I can look and sit here with a clear mind and say, damn, after he died, I just fucking went. And like I said, I never drank. It was never part of who I was.
But that was the moment.
That was, I remember where, and it wasn't like I was like, that was the start of it. It wasn't like that day I was a full-blown alcoholic. That day
that was the start of the slippery slope.
Yep. And how slippery a slope. I always said to anybody I knew, I'm like, dude, you must have to drink a lot to become an alcoholic. Like, how? Because you get drunk and you'd feel like just a bag of dicks. And
yeah, I never understood the alcoholism in itself compared to all the other addictions. Like, at least, certain drugs don't have as severe drawbacks as alcohol does.
So the one thing that I figured out about alcohol was that it's one of the hardest things I think that you can overcome, because it's 24 hours a day in your face. You can go to gas stations,
billboards,
everywhere.
It's
TV,
so socially
celebrities, socially acceptable. So you don't really look at like the stigmas that come with it until it's too late.
That was my thing growing up in high school. I before weed was legal, was a stoner in high school, and I was like, you guys are so stupid, and they think I'm like this criminal because I'm, smoking weed and they're, drinking and everything. And I never got into it at all. Like, I drank a little bit in high school, but never like got drunk. Like, one night in my entire life was like prom night. I might have got too drunk, but other than that, I always hated the taste. I always thought, why do I want to feel like shit in the morning? Like, why do I?
You are speaking so much truth. I fucking hated the taste of alcohol when I was drinking. I hated the taste of it.
It's like, what are we doing with our lives right now?
Dude,
talk about meaningless.
Never enjoyed the taste of alcohol. I think that was part of the reason it became so difficult, was because I didn't drink it to enjoy it.
You're drinking it to punish yourself.
Punish, hide, forget. Anything to so basically what it came down to is the kid that helped me towards the end of, not the end, my journey's not over, but the big journeys that I've been on the last year. I said to him, I used alcohol as the biggest Band-Aid in the world. And that was all it was. I didn't enjoy the taste. I didn't enjoy the feel. You know what I enjoyed? Passing out.
Not being conscious, not being here.
Because
skipping time.
That was it. As much time as you could put behind you and hide. Why? And that's where it comes down to. You asked me if I ever felt suicidal back then. No, never. Not until more in the last 4 years. And yeah, that got really bad. I didn't.
When the self-reflecting starts to kick in and all of the.
Yeah, I just felt hopeless. I never felt I've got off other things in life, and like I said, the Klonopin sucked. But this is different stage in life, different different thing. And
They got a sled out there.
huh?
There's a whole sled boat right behind you.
Oh
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
That's pretty gnarly, man. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. I kind of lost my train of thought. That guy's pretty.
Yeah, you were talking about the Klonopin.
The Klonopins, yeah. So getting off those sucked, but the alcohol was a whole different level. That was a whole different level for me personally, and it was a different level because I utilized it to hide because I didn't want to survive. I didn't care, and actually almost died last December.
Jesus.
I ended up in the ICU for 9 days.
How'd that happen?
Another one of God's friggin' twists in life. My gallbladder exploded.
God, right. Jesus Christ.
And yeah, I was like,
I pray to God that never happens to me. Please no. Anything like that, appendix, gallbladder exploding just randomly. There was just
the funniest part was I thought I was doing such a good thing, stopping drinking, and then 2 months later I end up almost dying.
And in that 2 months before the gallbladder exploded, was that because your friend helped you out there, or he never even mentioned anything of like calling you up that day until it was after the gallbladder? Talking about the your other story, the DMT, about the DMT.
Oh, actually, that was before I stopped drinking.
Really?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Do you think that contributed to you stop drinking?
Oh, so we haven't even gotten to that.
All right, let's get into it.
So I got to the point. So I had met this kid through a buddy of mine who was in the Army. He went to Afghanistan, and he lives in Washington State. And he came home with a lot of problems. And in Washington, I think it's not. Is it legal to do psilocybin treatments?
So, as far as my understanding, I could be mistaken. There's a few states that legalized the medical research of it, and so they're doing like research, but I'm not sure it's like you can go to like a store and get it if you have a medical prescription.
Gotcha.
It's like you have to be with a supervised therapist, and like it's still taboo. And the way traditional people think of it, most people think of it as heroin and cocaine, and that's unfortunate. But any substance can be abused, right? But it's definitely the healing properties, the therapeutic properties. They are doing clinical studies in a lot of states like Washington, Oregon, I believe California and Colorado as well. But anyway, you were saying you met your buddy through the military, the force.
Yep. And he lived in Washington, and I was talking to him because, like I said, I was going through some really hard times, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do.
In the thick of just drinking.
Just the drinking. I didn't have any support from anybody. My family was gone out of my life for so long, 20 years. So like everything I've done is on my own. And he was telling me that he had met some shaman who had given him some psilocybin treatments. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it really helped me. And I was like, get out of here. And ironically enough, one of the guys that served in his unit was a Massachusetts guy.
No kidding.
And he knew a guy that had a huge substance abuse problem. And his girlfriend at the time found out about some of these, I don't want to call them rehabs because they're not rehabs, but they're these retreats down in Mexico that do ayahuasca, they do DMT, they do psilocybin to help with substance abuse problems.
Traumatic healing and
PTSD. And then from that point, that was the start of my journey. I started looking into the research with how many people were getting the benefits, and like I heard like overnight success stories. Now, here's the crazy part. It scared the shit out of me. like I said, I've been through a lot in life, but this really made me nervous because, like, I don't like drugs.
Yeah.
I don't like alcohol.
Right.
But, like,
Let alone like not being in control of your mind and
these
thoughts.
drugs are outlawed by the government because they work. They're natural drugs. Natural things.
Plant
from the
medicine.
earth. Plant medicine.
Not made in a laboratory like cocaine
Nope.
or...
And they're, to me
Or
personally,
meth, I should say.
all the research and all the interviews I've watched people that have been through the treatments, not one person have I said, they're like, yeah, this was awesome. Like, oh, I felt so great. Or, I shouldn't say that. There are people that have had wonderful experiences.
Absolutely. But for the most part,
For the most part, it's
a lot
not
of negative experiences. Traumatic experiences.
traumatic. I wouldn't say negative because negative implies that
It's bad.
it's bad. And
That's an interesting distinction because we can use that trauma in a positive way.
yeah, well, that's the whole point of these treatments is you have to face some of the darkest parts of your life, and you can't hide from it. So I started doing my research. My friend introduced me to a kid out here who got into that community. And at first I started doing microdosing with mushrooms.
Yep. You jumped into microdosing. Okay.
Microdosing was the first thing I did. And
how'd that make you feel?
the first day I did it, so the gentleman that I had met was very, very skilled at this particular art. He had everything was measured out precisely. He was very, like I said, he went down to Mexico and got involved in the community.
He was pretty much a shaman.
He was a shaman. To this day, I'll say this: I thank God that I met him because he changed my life.
Wow.
And so we got to rewind a little bit. So I actually met this kid, and it took 2 years, fast forward, to get to the point where I did my 5-MeO DMT treatment. Because he wouldn't just do it. He's like, you're not ready.
It is a big thing you got to prepare for.
So
if you've never even done anything, you don't want to just jump into
Nope.
5-MeO DMT. For those who don't know, is considered the strongest psychedelic in the world, next to salvia. But yeah, it's nothing to be scoffed at. It's nothing I would advise anybody to do, especially if they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, this is serious.
That's some deep stuff right there. So before that, right, you're talking about you were microdosing.
I did start out microdosing on mushrooms. And
did that work?
It did. Believe it or not, it did. I stopped drinking.
No way.
But I stopped for like
a moment.
A month and a half.
Still, that's just amazing to break the habit.
Yes. And
it was just microdosing, not even like full doses. Wow.
And yeah, it was crazy. And then something kicked back in. I started drinking again.
Not fully healed at the source.
No. There's one thing that he said to me. He goes, you have to put in the work. Like, these are miracle drugs, but they're not.
They're not going to solve your problems if you don't do the work yourself.
Nope.
They show you a path, but you got to take that path.
That's it. So fast forward a year, the entire year from the point that I met him, I talked to him almost every day. And basically what he was doing is he was preparing me for the next step, which I didn't know at the time what it was going to be. And he always kept telling me, he's like, we could try this, we could do that, we could do this treatment, we could do that, like ayahuasca, so on and so forth. But those really made me nervous. And so I continued to talk to him for the year, and the next year came up and same thing. And I started to lose like all hope. Like I was like, just fucking take me. Like that point, I was like, I didn't care to live or die. Like, and that's genuine. Like, I'm not just saying that.
And just to jump off that point real quick, to make it a little bit more clear to the viewers that we're not glorifying taking any substance. You know, if you can get addicted to, you know, Strange Addictions. There's this show called Strange Addictions. You can get addicted to anything, right? And you can abuse anything. But obviously, if you can do it without the substances, become sober and live a healthy life, then you don't need these substances, let's be clear. But if you're in a state of hopelessness, a state of I don't know where to go, and you're on that suicidal path of last resort, there is some tremendous research and an immense amount of material when it comes to psychedelic research of tons of not only anecdotal evidence, but tons of evidence of people just saying, this has saved my life. And I can attest to that myself, that, you know, psychedelics played a huge role in my mental health, but they also damaged it after I've abused it. So again, it's not, you know, going to solve all your problems, but it can be a potential solution to get you out of a rut that you might be in.
1,000%.
If you use it wisely, if you do your research, if you do the work, the shadow work we've been talking about.
That is spot on accurate. For whoever listens to this or sees this, do not take anything lightly about these medicines. And they're not drugs. They're medicine because...
They're actual medicine, not like the pharmaceutical crap.
And just like he said, this isn't a glorified anything.
Sponsorship.
Nope.
We're not promoting this to anybody.
This is last ditch effort to save your life, save my life. And yeah, it's wild. Like he told me about all these treatments. Like I said, I did the research. I looked into it. He explained it to me. He guided me for 2 years before this point. And one day I called him up and I finally had enough. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to live anymore. I said, He goes, I'll see you on Friday. This was a Monday.
Wow.
After 2 years of saying, no, I don't think you're ready. I don't think you're ready. I called him up and he's like, see you Friday. So he's like, don't do anything in the meantime. He goes, I promise you in a week, you'll have a different outlook on life. And the week comes by, and the first day that he said that, I was actually relieved and excited.
Wow.
And then it just kind of went, it went downhill because the day got closer and I started to get nervous. And I was like, shit.
Hyperfixating on that.
Yeah, because I'm like, now I've committed to something that I have no clue what it's actually going to do to me. And the day
scary.
It was the week of hell.
If these substances don't frighten you a little bit, you should not be doing them.
Yeah, these are not they're not a joke. And Friday came and he called me at 6:00 in the morning. And I was awake since like 4. And he asked me, he goes, we still on for the day? And before that, like a half hour before he called, I was thinking of calling him and saying, I'm all set. I don't want to do this. That's why he called me. So I said, no, I'm good. Go out to his house. It was a full day.
So you texted him, you didn't want to do it anymore?
No, I woke up that morning and I thought to myself, I'm going to call him up this morning.
Oh, okay.
And tell him that I'm not going to participate today. And then he texted me and goes, are we good? And I was like, shit. I said, I can't say no now.
Yeah.
Not that I was.
Imagine how different the world
Oh
would be
my
if you
goodness,
did.
dude! It was just the fact that he texted me the same morning that I'm thinking about texting him back saying I'm all set.
Yeah.
I committed, and once I committed, that was it. And trust me, I was scared shitless of all the stuff we've just talked about. I can't tell you how nervous I was, and I drove out to his house, met him, and take in mind, I'm shitting myself for hours. He's a great guide, and he took me to his house, showed me, because obviously, he's a big gun guy. He showed me all his guns, some of his night vision,
That's
stuff
sick.
like that.
That's
showed me
dope.
around, took the load right off me. Stopped being nervous, and now came the time, and man.
Was it just you and him?
It was just me and him. And
any music?
Oh yeah. There's I'll give you the music.
Yes, please. I'll link it.
Music.
I'll link it in the description below. Some tribal ass music.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. I love it.
We he wanted to do it in this outside, but it was like 100 degrees out. So I was like, let's do it inside. So we went
100 degrees.
Yeah, it was summertime.
Where was this at?
In Western Mass.
Oh wow.
And so he comes in and he does his cleansing thing with I don't know what he was using, sage.
Sage or something, yeah.
Put on his spiritual beads, his spiritual clothes, turned on the music, cleansed the spot we were at, cleansed me, cleansed himself. And then that was the start of the ceremony. And then came the time to take the bufo. It's called bufo, 5-MeO-DMT. And I sat up, and he said, you have to inhale this for 10 seconds, and then hold it, and then lay back.
What are you using to smoke out of?
It was like one of those little glass weed pipes.
Wow.
And it was like this clear, crystal-y powder.
Yeah. Did he mix it with anything else? Or?
So what he did is he took a little cigarette ash and he put it in the pipe first so that it wouldn't fall through.
Yep.
And so I sit up, and now he's completely controlling this, so you can't pretend like he took
right.
the dose.
He's right there with you, yeah.
He lit it, and he didn't make you do anything. But he says, inhale for 10 seconds. So I inhaled for 10 seconds. And then he's like, lay back. So I laid back. And I'm laying there, and the music's going, and I'm sweating my ass off. And I'm like,
sounds like a good time.
Oh, it was something else. I'm like, man, I felt like little pins and needles.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. And like seconds later, he's like, it's not hitting you. I'm like, I don't know. How do you know? He goes, you're not moving. I said, I'm not moving. He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, let's do it again. So this time I sit up, and let's just throw this in there for anybody that's thinking about this. It tastes like shit.
Yeah.
Like the disgusting taste. I can't even describe it.
Kind of smells like the best way I could describe it is it kind of smells like your grandma's attic.
Oh, gross. So I set up the second time. Same thing. Hit it.
Did it smell like a familiar scent to you? Was it no familiarity?
Nope.
Okay.
Because he had the sage in there.
Okay, there's other scents going on.
There's other scents going on.
Okay.
And, yeah, so I hit it the second time, and I laid back. This time I laid back, and I felt heavy. So now I'm starting to get in my head confident and cocky. Like, this shit isn't going to do anything to me. Now the third time comes, so I sit up, and as I'm sitting up, I'm like, shit. I said, now that so I didn't say that this isn't going to affect me out loud. I thought this in my head. So I sit up the third time, and the second I sat up, I'm like, shit, this is going to really hit me like a freight train.
You knew it.
I freaking knew it.
You get any goosebumps or anything?
No, I was terrified.
Oh, wow.
Because I knew after saying that to myself.
You're like, what am I getting myself into?
No, I was like, this hasn't hit me the first or second time. this third time is going to rail me. So I sit up, and he calls it liftoff.
Yep. Or blast off, one of those. Too.
Fuck. Liftoff is an understatement. I hit that the third time, and before I could even lay back, I was gone. I was in a different place. Everything that I saw went.
Was it like a blink of an eye, just gone?
It was faster than the blink of an eye. I'd imagine like.
You got sucked somewhere else.
It sucked is the perfect word. It was like a vacuum, just.
See you later.
Hyper speed. I didn't even.
Couldn't even tell your surroundings anymore.
No, I didn't even. I could feel that I hadn't laid back yet. So it hit me as I was laying back.
Okay. There's still some sort of bodily recognition there.
Yeah. So I lay back and I just saw the color of pain and fear. And the color of pain and fear to me through this journey was black. And he said to me, he goes, remember, I'm always here.
You heard that?
Well, he said it to me before.
Okay.
Because he knew at some point I was going to get liftoff. And he also told me, he goes, you're not going to be able to see. And I was like, you're full of shit. I said that to him. And so I'm in this odd, I don't know how to describe it.
Some sort of state. Black state.
Yeah, black state. And I reached my hand out immediately, I guess. And I grabbed him by the hand, and I took his hand, and I put it on my heart.
While you were in this state? Wow.
And
that's unheard of.
Then
the fact that you had bodily control in that state is...
Yeah.
I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, I grabbed his hand, and I put it on my heart. And then I kept rotating it between my heart and my head.
Wow.
And it felt like the blink of an eye, and it was over. And I woke up. I don't want to say woke up, but like.
What were you thinking before you woke up? Anything?
Yeah, I was. Fuck.
That was the main thought.
I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Damn.
And I sit up, and there's this grown man on his hands and knees next to the bed. And I look over, I'm like, are you all right? And he lifts his head up, and he's crying. And I was like, the fuck? It's like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine. And the music's playing, and
Jesus.
I'm just trying to like make sense of what just happened to me. And he looked at me and he goes, don't even bother. He goes, I know what you've been through. And he goes, you can never explain it to somebody that has not been through it, but I know.
And it was just black for you? There was no other kind of like colors or...
Nope.
Just your blackness and your thoughts of holy fuck.
No, I wasn't thinking holy fuck at that time.
Oh, what were you thinking?
Just black.
It almost like you forgot like what happened in that moment, or?
Yeah. There was no context to it for me.
Almost like non-existence.
Yep. It was just all about pain and fear.
And
kind
of like almost reliving the pain and fear you've been through your life, that's
probably
bottled up.
Probably. I think that's what
just all exploded at once.
I think that's what the whole message was. And he told me, he goes, I woke up and I was like, holy shit. And the first thing I said to him was, I don't ever want to do that again. Like jumped up and like somebody just stung me with a bee. And he's like, just calm down and just let it finish. So I let it finish, and the music was playing, and he's like, I said to him, like, how long was I out? He goes, 22 minutes.
Jesus, that's the longest. I've done research on this substance myself, and I've never heard of anyone lasting 20. Usually it's 10, 15 minutes. 22 is like a long time to be under for. And the
Well-
fact that you had bodily control too, under that state, is just wild.
Well, the
Mind-bending.
weird part for me is I could tell my body was moving. I could feel my legs kicking.
But you couldn't see anything.
Nope. And I said to him after it was all over, I was like, "You're full of shit, man." I said, "I could have opened my eyes anytime I wanted." He goes, "Dude, your eyes were open 75% of the time. You were looking at me." I was like, "I was?" He's like, "Yeah."
Jesus Christ. I can only imagine how dilated your pupils were.
It was wild because, like I said,
Could you feel his hand? Like, could you still feel, like, the environment around you? And,
I could feel his hand on my head and I could feel it on my chest. But the things that I didn't know that he told me afterwards were, because he wouldn't talk to me immediately. It was hours. Like, we spent the day together.
Yeah.
Like, we went out to nature.
Let you kind of process that.
Dude, I didn't process it for weeks. Like, I tried to process it.
They say you never fully ever process it.
No. And still to this day, I think about it all the time, but you're right, I haven't fully processed it, and I don't think I ever will because I can't explain it. You understand because you've been through the same thing I've been through. But the only reason you understand is because you've done it. And I said to him, like, "Hey," he goes, "You were fighting it for like the first 10 minutes. And I was like, "I was?" He goes,
Wow.
"Yeah." He goes, "And all of a sudden you just broke down crying and you were yelling, 'Why me? Why me?'"
And you didn't know that you were yelling that?
Nope.
Holy shit.
Nope. I didn't know I was crying either. But he said I broke down hard crying and I just kept yelling out, "Why me? Why me?" And come to find out hours later, he told me why he was on his hands and knees and why he was crying. He said, "All the pain and fear that came out of you went right into me."
That's unreal. To even, like, yes, people are going to hear this, and one ear out the other, they're like, "Oh, this is all bullshit."
Oh, no.
But, like, this is real. This is beyond what you could think was even possible. Like, the fact that like, this is beyond just empathy. This is not just, I'm sad because you're sad. This is
Grown-ass man on his hands and knees.
your emotions going into him through the power of the spiritual substance that this is.
There, like I said,
That is absurd.
you can't explain this. This is just what it is. And I don't think that for somebody that understands, you need to explain. They just know. It's for everybody else that has this hint of doubt in their mind. It's for real. And this shit is no joke.
Ad nauseum of, like, not ever being able to experience this. They just can't even, like, imagine. It's more of a, I think, when I think back to that experience, it's more of a feeling than a memory. It's like,
Oh, 1,000%.
it's like a deep instinctual knowing. It's so impossible to explain in words, but maybe we just don't have the vocabulary, but maybe it's just not there. It's just,
I don't think we were ever going to develop vocabulary to describe that experience.
not in this language, at least.
No. It was something that was terrifying and freeing at the same time.
That's
And
beautiful.
I woke up and I looked at him and I was like, I don't ever want to do that again. And I just kept saying to him, like, "Holy shit, what just happened?"
Not to take away on another side tangent from this beautiful story that's very insightful, but I was talking to a friend not too long ago about a topic of fear and how fear, like, holds you back and, like, stops you from doing a lot of things, but also you can use fear to free you and to motivate you to, like, be healthier. If you're afraid of health scares, you want to do better. Like, there's, again, using trauma in a positive way, using fear in a positive way, using anything in a positive way is another aspect to spend more time focusing on, because everyone's always, like, focusing on what if something goes bad, what if this, what if that. They don't focus on the what if something goes good.
Oh,
What if
trust me, that was
you heal and you're free?
Yeah, that was part of the whole journey that I was on. Was what if I do this? What if I said to him, I was like, listen, I said, am I going to be normal after this?
Good luck with that
For
one.
real. No, because like, I'm like, dude, I don't want to be like a completely changed person.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, no. He goes, you're going to be fine.
You're gonna.
You're just going to look at things differently.
Absolutely.
And he was 100% right. I just could not.
Talk about mind opening.
I could not understand what I just experienced. But I'll tell you what happened. Is after that happened, I told him, I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. And he goes, understandable. And then a couple hours later, I said, I want to do this again.
No way.
Yep.
And what happened in those couple hours? The processing happened?
Some processing happened. And I think I realized that there was more in there that needed to come out.
It reminds me of hiking a mountain that's really big, and I hate it hiking up, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again. But when I get to the top and I see all the beauty, I'm like, I'm doing this again.
1000%.
It's like every single time. The process, the journey itself can suck.
Oh.
But who you become along the way, and like that destination, you know, that's worth it. That's
quick
absolutely
question
worth
for
it.
you.
Yeah,
Can
of course.
we break for a second?
Yes.
This fucking wind is shooting in my hood, down my fucking shirt.
Absolutely.
I gotta stand up.
Absolutely. This is a great part to break. That way I can actually warm my hands myself.
Oh my goodness.
We're literally out here on the ice.
Dude, the wind is coming from this direction.
I know.
In my hood.
I know. It's bad. My feet, man. My feet. Let me make sure this is still recording. That would be tragic. It is. We're golden. We're golden. That would be like my worst nightmare. Have this, thankfully, these mics that we have record at all the audio internally as well.
Really?
So if the footage ever busted out, cut out, my first podcast ever, my phone died while I was recording it.
Dude.
And I lost half the footage. And so it's a 4.5 hour podcast. Right? In 2 hours, it's visual, but then in 2 hours at the end, it's just us, our faces in a picture, and the audio's playing over it.
Dude, there's a couple of kids that I'm friends with out here. They're called the Wachusett Reservoir Addicts.
No way.
Mm-hmm. They're big fishermen, right? At the Wachusett. That's why they call themselves the Wachusett Reservoir Addicts.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, Wachusett opened hunting, okay? Never opened before. So I got in the first hunt, and my buddy Johnny wanted to come with me because he wanted to video the hunt.
Yeah.
So he spent all day with me hunting, right? The last bit of our hunt was the part where he was super excited because we found some deer. It was the perfect shot, the perfect hunt, and his fucking camera didn't work.
No.
He didn't hit record.
No. That's literally the worst, man.
I was like, Johnny, sorry, bud, we can't hit rewind and do this over.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
That is tragic. That is actually tragic. What, do you have your phone on you?
Yeah.
What time is it? My phone, I can't tell right now. I got a,
10:09.
Okay. I got like an hour left. I gotta feed the homeless today. I'm going to help out at a shelter near Polar Park. We're gonna hand out some free food and...
There you go. Dude, you're all sorts into this shit, huh?
Yeah, man, I try. I think that's my number one goal in life, is to end world hunger. I don't think in 2025 anybody should be going without food. It baffles my mind to think that with all of our advanced technology and all the billionaires in the world, how we let people on the street starve.
Do you know that
with all the food we waste? It makes no sense.
Do you know that we've sent enough money to Ukraine to solve our fucking homeless
Yeah,
problem.
literally. Just the money we sent to Ukraine, man. That's just crazy. It's crazy, crazy. But if you want to switch gears, we can talk about that in a second. The finish that story, which is
Oh,
amazing.
1,000, yeah, dude. Dude, that wind is going down my hoodie.
Yeah.
I might actually have to switch directions.
If you need to, we can also take a break and like come back another day if you need. You can always do a part 1, part 2 thing. But that wind is brutal. That wind is brutal.
I don't know how you're not fucking like
mind over matter. I did layer up. I got 2 layers here.
Dude, I got fucking long underwear on too. This hoodie is windproof.
It's my toes out. My toes and my hands always get the worst of it. But yeah, it's New England weather for you, man. Gotta love it.
I really hope people fucking enjoy your podcast.
I do too. I think no matter what, if it reaches a lot of people or it doesn't, the people it does reach are really gonna benefit from hearing this story, man. It's just perspective changing, especially for the people who are already thinking about dabbling in it or adventuring on a similar path. Maybe they'll learn that they don't need to. There's always other ways up the mountain. There's a mountain that we're all hiking up. A lot of people look at the top of the mountain and they're like, fuck that, that's too much work. I'm gonna stay on the ground where I'm comfortable. And they don't grow at all. But you don't have to take the same trail up the mountain someone else did.
I can't fucking believe you did that 10 times.
Tons of trails, there's tons of paths. But the first time I had a very great experience, and the second time I did too, and the third time I kind of did, and the fourth time I kind of did, and then it just all kind of went downhill from there. I was just trying to escape and get away from all the trauma I was dealing with and all the things I was dealing with. But maybe I'll open up about my story on my own when I get interviewed, when I go on someone else's podcast. This is for you, man. I got this little segment I play with all my people that come on my podcast. I got 7 words here. And I just want you to give me like 2 or 3 sentences, maybe more, if you really have a strong relationship with that word, of what this word means to you. You can define it. You can just say what it means to you. Like, what are the first initial thoughts and feelings that this word kind of brings to mind? And so the first word is freedom. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? Just in a general sense.
You want to know what freedom means to me?
Absolutely.
It means that I don't have any fucking drugs holding me down. Freedom. I don't have to worry about waking up in the morning and wondering, do I need to fill my prescription? Do I need to go to the liquor store? Yeah, that's what it means to me.
Independence.
Independence, free from the devil's grip. Like, I don't have any urge to hide anything anymore. That's what freedom is. It's not being afraid to go through hard times without abandoning.
That's beautiful. I like that definition.
Yeah.
The next word was respect.
Respect. Respect is a hard word.
Yeah, it is.
So, respect. So that was one thing that my father always told me. He goes, you respect your elders. And to me, that always stuck. And it doesn't matter if you agree with your elders or not. To me, the fact that somebody's lived that many years more than you, you respect because that can be taken away at any time.
It's just a life in itself that you want to respect.
Just the ability that you've made it to 50, 60, 40,
I don't
30.
care how stupid any person is. It's impressive to make it that far. Even if you're a coward.
Yeah.
It's impressive to make it that far in life.
And that was actually yesterday. I don't know why that was a big word yesterday, respect, because I was talking to somebody and I was like, listen, this guy at work was telling me, older guy in his 70s was like,
They're cooking on the ice? That's crazy.
Oh, you never been ice fishing before?
I guess not. I
Dude,
haven't, no.
It's fucking wild.
You actually cook on the ice? I'd be so worried to melt the ice.
No. Respect. Yeah, so this guy at work was telling me something. Normally, if it was a guy my age or younger, I would be like, shut the fuck up. I know what I'm doing. But because he was older, I only known the guy 2.5 weeks, but he was older than me, and just the way I was raised, I just shut my mouth and I said, okay, that's the respect I have for you for just getting old. I don't know if that's like a definition of respect, but that's what respect means to me.
Yeah, you don't have to define it. You can just, say what it means to you or any initial thoughts. The next word I had was responsibility.
Ooh.
I know these aren't easy ones. It doesn't get easier either.
Responsibility.
That's a tough one. Either how do you feel about it or what it means to you, or the time you had to think of when you had to take on responsibility.
Well, responsibility to me now has changed.
Like your responsibilities have changed, or just
No, the definition of responsibility has changed to me. Like, so it sucks because now I look back at responsibility, like my drinking made me a less responsible human being because I should have been better for the kids and my ex-girlfriend. So my responsibilities as an adult should have been more prioritized, but I didn't know how. So to me,
prioritizing is hard.
Yeah, responsibility to me is realizing that there is something greater than you.
Wow.
So
in terms of priority, or just like meaning and purpose?
We have to put aside our own feelings and our own lives for somebody else. Whether it's your kids, your family, your friends, to be a responsible human being or a responsible adult, we need to put shit to the side. So that's what responsibility is to me is putting aside things that you want for something else.
That's greater. Wow. Yeah. That's an amazing perspective. Definitely think.
Well, we live in a world nowadays
it's very insightful.
I see people, they're like, you always do it for yourself. Do it.
You owe it to yourself. Yeah, stuff like that.
No, we do a lot for ourselves, but like for me, I'd rather do for others and like make somebody else smile or happy, because it brings me joy. Like, people don't get that. They're like, you need to do this for you. I'm like, for what? What does that do for me?
Yeah.
Nothing. You know what it does for me? Seeing this kid in here, there's a young kid in here that comes and asks me all the time how to do, exercise this. He wants to build his chest, stuff like that. It's my responsibility as a 40-year-old to teach this 14-year-old what he wants to do. So
I like that.
For me, helping other people,
that's responsibility.
Is responsibility. Because if you don't have like something to strive for, then what's the point? And to be selfish, I just don't get this whole fucking world of like, oh, you gotta make yourself a priority.
To a certain extent, you can't help others if you are homeless and
no
have no clothes on your back.
That's
I think that's what they mean by that. You got to put yourself first to that degree.
Yes, But like, as far as like,
taking it to an extreme.
I just don't see this people like, it's all about how you feel. This,
Yeah.
that. Fuck.
It's your world and everyone's in it kind of thing.
Yeah. No, dude, we have to live our lives for other people. We have to
We
live
share
our
this
lives
world
for,
together.
like, what are we doing this for? Like, what are we doing this for?
Exactly. We're doing it for other people so that they can, you know, learn from and hopefully not make the same mistakes that we've made and learn from our stories and hopefully heal themselves and be able to take a shortcut by taking some advice and not have to go through as much suffering. That's the hope, at least, for my podcast, is to share stories to help people.
Our responsibility is to fucking help other people.
I've always agreed to that. I think responsibility, you know, it's your ability to respond to others. And the more you can, the more responsibility you have.
I can't wait for the next word.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good...
Did I define that one?
That was perfectly. Yeah, that was perfectly. You're going to definitely laugh at this next one. It's called government. That's the word. What does that make you think of initially or make you feel or...
Angry.
I'm right there with you, man.
Government makes me feel angry.
There's no joy
No.
in the word, I'm sure.
The older I've got, the more government has angered me because I don't feel that they give a shit about anybody else but themselves.
The government doesn't care about us? What?
No.
No way. Thought they loved me.
Government.
You know what? The best for my well-being and my health?
Nope. I do not think the government has your best interest, my best interest, or anybody in this world's best interest other than themselves and their friends.
I always thought government had the most power, which they do, right? And if you have a lot of power at any organization, I think it's a straight line vector for evil people to be attracted to. If I'm evil or if I'm a psychopath, I want power over others. And the first place I'm going to go to is a position in the government.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it.
You ever think why these politicians come out being super rich? Look at
Yeah, right.
You know AOC?
Making like $100,000 a year and they're multimillionaires.
You know AOC?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez.
That sounds familiar.
Oh, she's one of those stupid fucking... She was a bartender. And she's now a fucking senator.
Wow.
You know, congresswoman.
No way.
Oh, she went to Boston College. No, she went to Boston University.
Is she like a senator from Massachusetts or?
New York.
New York?
And she is the biggest piece of shit. Oh, dude, 100%. Like, she's a fucking...
Yeah, I don't do politics, so I only know one senator's name out of all of Congress, and that's Senator Loomis, or Senator Loomis, however you pronounce her name. And that's only because she's signing crypto bills. And that's literally...
Where's she from?
I don't even know. I'm the most illiterate political person you could talk to. I really don't follow it because there's no joy in it. Right. There's like, I'm here to help people, and, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, not help people if they're government affiliated or whatever. Most of my family is from the government. Most of my uncles and my grandparents and my parents.
Family, the military?
All of my family was from the military. So I had a very strict, interesting childhood, but again, gonna go to the next word here because it's very similar. Then we can build off of the last one. I think you're also gonna laugh at this one. They just get harder from here. The next word's police.
Police. Corruption.
Corruption at its finest.
I think that goes... Police and government, I think, are the same.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
1,000%. Why do you think that they're... Why do you think the U.S. president has a 4-year term limit? Because if this was fucking Russia, what's his name? Putin has been president for how long?
And he's killed how many people running against him?
Everybody. Police, when I hear police, I hear corruption. I don't trust the police. I don't believe in police. I believe we need police.
Imagine if everyone policed themselves. What if instead of a police academy, that was like a class in a school? Instead of art, English, ELA, there was a self-defense police class that everyone had to take, and everyone had to have handcuffs on them all times so that we could start policing ourselves. Would that be a solution?
So I like where you're going with that, but I don't. Do you want to know why?
Why?
You and I had this conversation the other day where people are dumb.
Yeah.
The person is not dumb.
Right.
People are dumb. And it's interesting. Dude, this is fucking mind-blowing because everything that you brought up has a direct meaning for something in my life that I've experienced recently. So I watched a video the other day of this cyclist. And the cyclist was in the wrong. And in my opinion, he was a liberal because of his actions. And to me, it's very easy to spot a liberal because they're very loud, obnoxious. They think that their way is the only way and you have to follow what they want.
This new age kind of liberal, right?
Yes.
Obviously our founding fathers were liberals, and it's a different kind of liberal than it is today.
So was it the kid in the gym last night? I was talking about Democrat and Republican. And I watched another video where this very influential woman said, I used to be a Democrat until I became educated. Now I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
Everybody starts out as a Democrat, she said, and they all end up
And it is true for a lot of people.
Because then they start to see that Democrats really don't mean what they say.
And the parties kind of change over time, I feel like, too.
How
like
the fuck are these
lines
Democrats
get blurred
are supposed to be for the people, but they're not. They want to blind the people.
Well, it's a lot of lobbyists going on and lobbying.
Yeah.
And, again, corruption at its finest.
Ooh,
and
this is nice. Standing here, I'm starting to get blood flow back.
Yeah, standing did help. Standing helped big time. Sitting down, not moving.
Oh my
no blood circulating.
God. Was I rambling?
No, you were actually talking about something very important. And I kind of cut you off with this new segment. We were talking about, before we go back into it, the 2 hours that made you decide that you wanted to do it again.
Oh, God.
But I do want to finish this quick segment. I got 3 more words for you. And that is, the last word is, this next word is probably the last hard one. And that's taxation.
Taxation. How do I feel? Wait, this is a definition or?
It's either or. How you feel in the definition or the definition, whatever your initial thoughts on the word. You hear the word, what does that mean to you?
Greed.
Greed.
Yeah, I think
That's very
taxation is
interesting.
greed. I think that paying taxes is one thing on certain things. I think that taxes are needed.
For the roads, education. Maybe not just give Ukraine billions of dollars.
No, not to give away. Taxation to me is what we went to war with the British for.
No taxation without representation. I have a theory. I think they changed that in the history books. I think that they really said no taxation, period. That's just a theory of mine, but
It's very possible.
very possible. I wasn't there.
None of us were.
I mean, I've read the books Common Sense by Thomas Paine, and in his book, he states, taxation is theft.
It is theft.
Right in Common Sense. They don't want you reading Thomas Paine. They don't want you reading Edison. They don't want you reading, our founding fathers' words.
So we pay taxes on everything.
Literally. And then we pay taxes on transactions, and we pay taxes on...
We pay taxes on taxes we've already paid.
And if I give you money, I have to pay taxes on gifting you.
So like the money, if you die
That's crazy.
and you have $10 million, you've paid taxes on $10 million. Now your kids or your family has to pay taxes on that $10 million you've already paid taxes.
Unless you find some loopholes, right?
There are loopholes.
Thank God.
Yes, but you shouldn't have to fucking
No,
find loopholes
should not
in
have to
order
be
to get
that.
money that's already been taxed to the fucking nines. Like, no. Taxation's theft.
I'm hopeful with this whole ERS, External Revenue Service, and like tariffs and not tax cuts and all that, because before 1913, before the gold standard was taken away, I'm pretty sure we didn't tax. America made no income tax, and it was all external taxes based off tariffs. That's how we used to make most of our money. And it was, I don't know the exact year it was, but there was a time where we started the IRS and we started taxing our own citizens. I don't know why, I don't know when.
Do you know that the Mass Pike, do you ever go down the Mass Pike?
Yeah.
You know the Mass Pike tolls were only to pay for they were only to pay for the pike. And it was supposed to be like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like the Mass
That's
Pike.
it. It was
it.
just funded for the pike.
For the pike.
Yeah.
To pay for the fucking pike. Now it's I got a $300 bill over the summertime.
Jesus. From the Mass Pike.
For 1 month.
What?
And my fucking bank account's attached to the fast lane.
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, I'm in a dispute with them now, but like when I bought my new truck in November, they wouldn't let me register it because they put a hold on my...
Funny you say that. Never drive through New Jersey going through a toll ever in my life ever again.
$50 a toll?
Well, worse. I don't have a easy pass thing on my car.
Oh,
I just pay by plate. And I was like, no issue. I get the thing in the mail. I pay it that day. $2, $3, $5. I went through New Jersey's tolls, and that's actually a big no-no because they makes them go through this processing fee. And the processing fee, the toll itself is $2.
The processing, $20.
The processing fee was $150. And I didn't do that just once driving through New Jersey. I was going from here to here to here to here to here to here, all using the toll. And so I had to pay $1,000 in processing fees. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Because it's apparently illegal to have no pay-by-plate in the state of New Jersey. And it's illegal to pump your own fucking gas in New Jersey because they need the jobs. So have somebody come and pump your gas. I was like, this state is fucking...
New Jersey?
New Jersey is the dumbest state in America. I put my foot down on that. It is like unreal how corrupt it is down there.
Dude.
Oh my God. I used to live there actually, when I was 4 years old, Air Force parents. But
did you say you want to move to New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Like, do you have anybody up there? Do you have like a lot of friends
I have
up
nobody up there. It's all tax purposes. There's a 0% capital gains tax and the 0% state tax when it comes to a lot of the stuff. So you pay more in property taxes, but if you do the math, it's a lot cheaper. And it's a gorgeous state too. It's closer to Vermont. I'll be closer to all my other things, but I'm still going to be working in Mass. But two more words.
Okay.
The next one is, I love your responses, by the way. The next one is truth. There comes that wind.
Truth.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure you're in frame there.
So, truth.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Truth to me. Well, you want to know one thing in all my life that I've finally come to realize? Whether you have social media, you post all this shit, everybody in this fucking world is hiding something.
Unless you're an innocent baby, I like to think.
Unless you are a baby. I think that there's something that there's a truth that everybody is hiding about themselves.
I think you unfortunately might be right on that, but I hope that you're not. I hope that there are some people out there who have done some immense shadow work and have become an amazing shaman and can be 100% authentic. I still hold out for hope for humanity that there might be maybe even just 1,000 individuals out of the 8 billion people who can be honest and who are good people.
No, that's not what I mean about truth. I mean, we all have something we're not being truthful about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe there's somebody who's telling the truth about it. Or are you talking about truth about it to ourselves?
To ourselves.
Oh, okay.
I think that...
That's interesting.
I think that we all have a real hard time with things that
we don't want to be true.
Yes.
Could be related to death, could be
And
related to...
it is infinite what it could be, but I think that we all have a truth as an individual that we just don't want anybody to know.
You can't handle the truth.
This is true. I think it's not. I think it's personal reasons. I think it's pride. I think it's all sorts of things.
Ego, whatever
ego.
it is.
Oh, here we go back on. I'm glad you brought that. That should be one of your words right there.
Ego?
Ego.
Okay. I'm going to add that for my next.
So, the guy, my spirit guide, said 5-MeO-DMT helps kill your ego.
Yep.
Ego.
Ego death. That's a very common theme, not just in 5-MeO-DMT, but all psychedelics.
Yes.
Especially if you get up to a certain amount of dosage, you will experience this thing called ego death. And you gotta really, in psychology, they define ego in 3 different ways. You got your ego, your super ego, your id. But it's the sense of self. I've come to find, like, ultimately ego is like the sense of self that is very naive and very almost a sense of like, I don't need to know that, or I'm too good for that, or that sense that like thinks that you're separate. It's that sense that thinks that you're above others, or better than someone else, or better than something else. Like, I would never do that. Like, this is me, that's that. It's a very separate like part of you. And that
I think you just did 2 words. I think you did truth and I think you did ego all in the same one,
right.
because you're like, that's not me, but that's not being truthful to yourself.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean like speaking the truth to people, because I think you can speak the truth to people, but I think there's truth in you that you can't accept. Like, I'm a jackass.
Yep.
I'm just using that for example. Jackass.
No, for sure. That was actually one of the first thoughts I thought the first time I tripped. I realized how much of a jackass I was and how much of a shitty person I was. I'm like, I'm a piece of shit. I fucking hate myself. And this is at the time, like, obviously I love myself right now, but at the time I was like, I hate myself. I don't like who I am. I don't like the things I do. I'm an apathetic piece of shit. And it was one epiphany after another. And that's what the realizations I gained was like one after the other. It was like click, 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 one after the other. And that was from acid. That wasn't even anything like 5-MeO-DMT.
Do you know that I have friends that just, and I'm all for it, they go do acid trips on their own because they come back better.
It definitely does kill that ego. And the number one thing I realized was like, we're all connected, we're all one. And that sense of oneness, like, I can't say I'm better than anybody else, because I feel like genuinely I would do what they would do if I was in their shoes. If I lived their life and went through their bullshit and had to live the things that they went through, I'd probably make their same mistakes. And it's like that realization of like, we're all in this together, we're all one, we're all connected, we're all very similar, more than we're not. It's like, it makes me like understand, talk about helping people, and it's our responsibility to help others. It's like, I always believe like when one's suffering, we're all suffering, because we're all in this world together. Like, we're literally a part of it. We are the world. We came from this world.
Do you know if you took money and power away from people, you would all be the same?
Literally.
I don't care who. You take Donald Trump and you fucking take all his money and all his shit away from him. See how fucking strong you are then.
Right.
Like, I understand you're strong, you build your wealth, but like, when you lose it all.
Who are you really?
Because I see all these influential people like.
My toes are starting to freeze again.
Yeah. You want
Damn.
Yeah, I think that all these influential people that are on the top have all these great things to say because they're on the top, but I want to hear what they have to say when they're on the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear these people preach about how awesome life can be when you're sitting in a fucking penthouse in Dubai with $100 million in the bank.
Literally.
You're awesome. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, what is it like when you're fucking ready to pull the trigger?
And how can you see the light from that too? And I always had this one motivating thought that got me through the world. It's like, if the world's on fire and we're all burning, the only way to save that world, or put the fire out of the world, so to speak. It's not to, hurt others. And like, you set the world on fire, guess who lives in it? You do. You're going to burn because of it. But if you take your fire out of it, you take your negativity and you don't add to the problem. I'm not even saying help the world, just don't even add to the problem. You could save the world just by saving yourself, because you're a part of the world. And so when you do that and you help yourself and heal yourself and love yourself, that self-love is God's love, I think. And it's God loving himself. We're all in God, that he loves us unconditionally in of himself loving himself. And so you take your love, you take your suffering out of the world, people are going to look at you like, how are you happy? How are you healthy? And hopefully by leading by example and practicing what you preach, you can motivate and inspire other people to do the same. And it's just a ripple effect.
Dude, I fucking hope that one person sees your fucking podcast.
Let's go. Yeah, right? Just one, man.
I don't even, one. And they look in the mirror and they're like, I got this. You know what just made me think of that? That guy walking over there with a beer in his hand, right?
Yeah.
I have no urge to drink a beer.
Hell yeah.
Should I? I probably should, shouldn't I?
I don't know about that one, but...
Yeah, but as an alcoholic, old...
could be problematic as an ex-alcoholic to pick up another beer.
No, I'm not saying pick up a beer. What I'm saying is I see a beer in his hand and it doesn't affect me one way or the other. Whereas a lot of people that stop drinking look at that beer and they're like, fuck,
I want a beer.
I look at that beer and I'm like,
it's just a beer.
Just a beer.
Yeah.
Like last weekend.
That's good that you don't have a negative thought about it either, because a lot of people look at that and they're like, ugh, you're one of those, or ugh, I can't be around you.
No, that's where I told you about the meetings. I don't think that you can sit there and continuously call yourself an alcoholic and not be an alcoholic. You want to be an alcoholic continuously?
Keep calling yourself
an alcoholic.
You got to be very careful of the thoughts and the way you speak to yourself, and that's a very phenomenal point. The audience missed it, but we were talking earlier before this podcast about AA meetings and NA meetings, and some of them can be very beneficial. As you know, episode 1, my first guest, Donnie Steiger, he doesn't like advertising AA because he said that if he advertises AA and someone goes to AA and it doesn't work for them, then they're like, okay, this is obviously bad. But again, he's like, you got to find the right group in all of that. But it can be beneficial for some, but it can be the worst for others, because you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of alcoholics or ex-alcoholics in recovery who are always saying, hi, I'm an alcoholic. And hi, you're affirming that. And, people have this mentality of like, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And it's like, I'm always in recovery. And it's like, that might have some truth to it. Like, you always have to say no to that, going back to who you were. But I believe you're not always anything, and that you can always heal and grow into something else. And the things we say to ourselves and think to ourselves matters extremely. And if we're always saying, I can't, whatever it is, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not this, even in the moment, you're just lying to yourself and you become that. If you can't and you say that, of course you can't. You're just limiting yourself.
Yes.
I always say you can do anything you set your mind to, and people are like, be realistic, stop being optimistic. Well, what is reality, first of all? Like, no one knows. We could be in a simulation for all we know. And then second of all, in your dreams, you can do anything you set your mind to. I'm a very big, avid lucid dreamer, and I have a dream journal and everything, and I think lucid dreaming is very powerful, especially for people who want to explore psychedelics, because you don't need to take drugs. If you master your dreams, you can experiment in your dreams and see how that is first. And maybe you can unlock a similar therapeutic, psychological therapy just by dreaming and not having to actually do the substances in real life.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on the. That's why I said that to you earlier, is because I did go to. I've been to AA meetings. I've been to SMART meetings. And to me, if you're going to go to a meeting and you don't want to follow this whole like, hi, my name is Harvey. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in 25 years, but I'm still reaffirming the fact that I'm an alcoholic. You're just telling yourself continuously that you're an alcoholic and that you can't beat alcoholism. That's bullshit. I think that you've beat alcoholism. I think that you keep reinforcing the fact that you're an alcoholic makes you feel like you're a victim. If you don't want to be a victim anymore, stop affirming the fact that you're an alcoholic.
Right.
Because when you stop drinking, you become a non-alcoholic. You become a non-drug addict. When you stop something, that's the whole point, is you stop. Like when you stop speeding. Are you still speeding? Nope. You slowed down, right?
Yep.
So what, am I a chronic speeder if I speed all the
amazing.
time?
That is an amazing analogy.
Like I said, to me, I went to these meetings because I thought that that's what I had to do in order to stop. But when I was sitting in the meetings, I started to get angry because I'm like, dude, I'm not that. I'm not them. I don't want to be them. I don't want to be sitting here 5 years from now, not had a drink in 5 years and say, hi, my name is Hunter. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in 5 years. Well, then how the fuck are you an alcoholic? You're not.
Yeah.
If you're continuously drinking, you're an alcoholic.
That's a very interesting perspective.
And it really
insightful.
bothered me to sit there in those meetings and hear these people continuously reinforce the fact that they're something that they're not. And that goes in life in general. If you sit here and say you're an asshole, you're going to be an asshole. If you sit here and say, you and I both go to the gym. Like, you want to lift 225 pounds? What are you going to do? You're going to keep going until you lift 225 pounds.
Right.
You chose to do that, not the weight. The alcohol didn't make you drink, you did.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I just think that people
are who they want to be.
They are. And I think that AA is a great tool for the right mindset. I think smart meetings are a great tool for a mindset.
I think people like to also play the victim card, and they like to be pitied on.
Yes.
I think it's like a fucking talent show of how much trauma they have, and it's like, oh, I have more trauma than you, kind of. It's a fucking competition all of a sudden.
Yes.
It's so weird how we've developed into this mindset of like trauma dumping is like, makes you cool. And it's like, no. We don't want to be traumatized. No. We don't want to go through suffering.
Dude, that's why I explained to you about my trauma glass and how full it was, because that's not something that I never wanted to go through that. I wasn't looking to be like, oh, look at me, poor me, oh, look at me. No, I want to live a normal fucking life. I want to have, after all the craziness I've been through, I just want a house, I want a family, and I just want to be left alone.
Amen to that.
I want to go shoot my guns, I want to hunt, I want to fish, I want to ski, I want to snowmobile. Like, that's it. I don't care. I don't have to be super rich.
You got snowmobiles?
I haven't bought snowmobiles. There's 3 things that I haven't bought that I wanted to buy. A boat.
Hell yeah. On Lake Champlain would be nice.
No, ocean boats.
Okay.
I mean, same
You
boats.
could take them to Lake Champlain.
Oh yeah,
too.
you can take them to Lake Champlain. But everybody's like, well, it's a seasonal thing, and where are you going to store it in the wintertime? And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for a boat.
Maybe you get like a little jet ski.
So jet skis, that was my third one.
Yeah, I wanted one so bad, bro. It'd be so fun.
And the same about the snowmobile. Like, I want a snowmobile, but like, we haven't got enough snow to really to justify. Dude, those things are 20 grand.
No way. Jesus.
And at this
makes
point,
me like jaw drop now that I know, like, one of my friends from high school had like 8 of them in his fucking house.
Dude,
Jesus.
My buddy that I go down in the Cape with, this is where it's when I said we all have a truth that we're lying to ourselves. He's a good kid, and he's got, he makes good money. He has a $750,000 center console. 36 years old.
Holy shit.
He didn't buy that. His parents bought that.
Right.
Because his dad's got a $5 million boat. He rides around it. So that's I think that's just a lot of money.
It is, absolutely is. I think freaking $5,000 is a lot of money, but that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all relative.
Yeah,
But
it is. It is.
Snowmobiles, boat, and jet skis are all. Dude, I'm big into toys. I used to race dirt bikes.
Hell yeah.
Love dirt bikes, 4-wheelers, stuff like that. But
before we get into the rest of your story, though, was there anything you wanted to say left about truth, or I got one more word after that? If not,
no, not about truth.
All right. The last word is love.
Whew.
I know. Finish with a bang.
Whoever came up with these words, I'll give them credit.
Thank you. I came up with them.
Then you did a good job.
Appreciate it.
Because these are all very difficult words.
Yeah, I do very similar ones for all my guests, but I also switch it up, and I do like 4 similar, 3 new words, or 3 similar and then 4 new words. I asked my last guest about respect, responsibility, and the other one, freedom. But yeah, you got 4 new ones, so that's
Well, I'm honored then.
You got it.
Love. That is a fucking hard one for me.
I think for everybody, it's one of those words in the human language that means differently for everybody. I mean, most words mean differently. Everyone has their own slang and lingo, but love in general, especially love.
I think that love, to me, is fuck. This is gonna be your hardest one. So for me, love doesn't mean much because I haven't experienced a ton of it. So I see love as a great thing because there are people that experience love, and to have somebody that cares enough about you that like you can do whatever you can fuck up as much as you want, and for somebody to always continuously have the same emotions towards you, that would be love to me, because I've fucked up a lot in my life, and nobody except my buddy Matt, who killed himself, ever was consistently there. So love to me is a hard word because I haven't got a lot of it. And
but you can definitely say it's unconditional, like true love.
That's the thing, is love is unconditional, because like I said, if you have it, you can tell. You can tell that doesn't matter what you do. If somebody's always there for you, no matter what you've gone through, that's love. That's love. And it is there. I mean, it is a real thing.
It's hard to explain, though. It's hard to...
It is hard to explain.
I don't think you can define it.
No.
I mean, I try. My definition is just wanting the best. I think love is just simply, whatever the fuck that means. But I want the best for me. I want to grow. I want to become stronger. I want to become better. You know, everyone has this weird mentality of, you're perfect just the way you are. I don't think that's true.
Huh.
I think, I know, right? I think that you're not perfect. That you, like, especially when I was younger, I was a piece of shit. I was an asshole. I was a horrible human being who didn't care about anybody. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't complete.
So
I needed to love myself.
You say that is that you say you were an asshole. No, I see. This is another thing we talked about the other night. Remember, I was talking about that girl that was talking shit about her ex-husband, and I don't think you were an asshole. I think it was just that time in your life where you had to be that person to survive whatever you were going through at the time.
Sure.
And all these negative things that people bring up, because I could sit here and say I was a fucking asshole. I mean, I treated people not the way that they deserve to be treated,
but I don't think I was consciously doing that because like I wanted to hurt him.
Okay. Sure. Absolutely. Like, I don't think I ever wanted to, like, genuinely, you know, be evil. Like, in my heart, I don't think. But I was doing some evil things at the time. And I didn't care. And obviously, you know, it depends on how you define perfect, too. That could be its own word in the segment in and of itself. Because, like, you could say, you know, I've always had this, like, quirky little motivational speech of, like, you're perfect just the way you are, you know, perfectly imperfect. There's no two blades of grass alike. There's no two grains of sand alike. There's no two snowflakes alike, or so they say. You know, there's no two human beings alike. And just in that and of its fact itself, there will never be another hunter, the exact same hunter you were. There will never be another me. And so you're the perfect you. You're the perfect way in a sense that you're the only you there is. And that's what makes your value, your worth infinite, because you're the only one. And so in that sense, you're perfect, right? In the sense of like, you know, there's a context perfect of like, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not whole and complete in my physical journey, in my mental journey. I don't know all the stuff I want to know. I don't have the personal records in the gym I want yet. I don't have the emotional maturity I want yet. And so in that sense, I'm striving to become better and wanting the best for myself. In that sense is what I think love is.
Yeah,
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
That could be this whole podcast just on love.
I was thinking this the other day, and dude, you, it's fucking wild that you say this shit the way you say it, because it was a mathematical equation, and I'm sitting there going, how the fuck do you know what you're talking about? These are just words that somebody made up. How the fuck do we know that circle is 3.14?
Yeah,
like,
pi.
are you just making this shit up? Like, cause do we really
With measurements and
do we know what this is?
The fuck is zero even mean? Fucking people say that zero's not even a number.
There you go. That's my point.
Like we just agree on it because it allows us to do basic things. But even those basic things start to fall apart when you get to a certain level.
Yeah.
And it's like
it was something, I forget what it was, but I'm sitting there like, how the fuck do you know? You don't. Like we've made this shit up.
I was learning a lot about the other night, a lot about quantum physics. I know I'm no physicist, I'm no mathematician. I just like to listen to podcasts about people talk. And there's this one guy, damn, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. He's attributed to be the smartest man in the world right now. He just went on this podcast. I'll link the podcast in the description.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He looks like just a normal guy.
Dude. He was a farmer in Illinois.
Yes, I saw that.
And I was hearing him speak. I watched like 50 minutes of the podcast. It's an hour and a half podcast. I want to finish it later today. And he was really explaining some things in layman's terms. And I was like, that makes sense. And he has this theory of everything because there's a big dispute in the scientific community of like, you have general relativity from Einstein that describes, you know, as far as I understand it, I'm probably butchering this, it describes astral bodies and their relative position with each other and like, you know, general relativity. But then the micro, that's the macroverse. But then the microverse of like subatomic fields and like, you know, things that I can't even explain if I tried. But there's a bunch of science when it comes to that and string theory and like other theories. But as much science as we have when it comes to, you know, general relativity, and as much science as we have when it comes to, which is the macro world, and as much science as we have when it comes to the micro world, we can't seem to bridge the two. Like, we can make sense of that world, and when we're operating in that world, it makes sense. But when we try to describe everything and put everything together, it all falls apart. And so this guy came out with his own theory of everything. And it is actually pretty interesting. I want to read his book, actually, and like really listen to what he has to say, because when he was describing it all in layman's terms, I was kind of like following a little bit. I was like, oh, that makes sense. He was like, God's real. It's just the truth. And it makes sense. Like, you can't live without the truth.
Dude, do you not you not hear some of the podcasts about people that have gone into these psychedelic treatments?
And that's what they say.
Like, God's real. Like,
Yeah.
this is real.
That's what my first trip on DMT, that's what my conclusion was. It was like, God is just the truth. And the ultimate truth, I do believe, is love. I do believe God is love, and
So I wanna tell you something that I found by accident. Now, it wasn't based on one particular video. It was based on like 50. So last year, right before my fucking gallbladder exploded, I was down in Virginia
Jesus.
working, and I started watching these videos about people that died, and they all had different stories, but they were all exactly the same. All of them were exactly the same in the end, stating that they didn't have any fear, they felt immense love,
wow.
and they didn't want to go back to their bodies, but they all saw themselves. Like, it was about
Yep.
people that died in surgery.
Same story, different characters.
Different stories, same exact description of what it was like when they died.
Wow.
And it was like, this guy died at 20. He died in the bathroom. He was dead for like 2 days.
Jesus.
And like, he's alive. But he explained the whole fucking thing. And
You're talking about people who get resuscitated?
So his story was, he was dead and
2 days?
No, he wasn't. He was dead he died in a bathroom at like a fucking truck stop, and they zipped him up in the bag in the ambulance, and they were bringing him back to the hospital, and one of the paramedics was new, and he had this like weird feeling this guy wasn't dead.
No way.
He ended up getting fired because he ended up bringing the guy back to life.
He got fired for that?
Because he wasn't supposed to do what he did, and he did what he did because he knew that the guy was still alive.
That's the dumbest thing to get fired for. I need to learn about this story because that's insane. Saving a life should never get you fired, first of all.
It was something about not following protocol that he did. He wasn't supposed to do, and he did anyways because he felt that guy was not dead, and he wasn't dead. The guy's still alive. That's why I
can't believe they fired him.
They fired him.
That's absurd.
For it. But
absolutely absurd.
So every story was exactly the same, but completely different about people dying. And none of them were like, no, I'm scared to die now. They're like, if I die, it's going to be like beautiful.
Yeah. I love listening to those stories of people getting brought back to life and then telling the story of what they experienced. I actually know somebody in person, not just some story I hear online. Shout out to Diane. You know who you are. She got into a car accident, was dead, was resuscitated. And she described seeing the light. She described going to the light. She described seeing her dead husband who died years ago, seeing him and him telling her it's not her time yet.
That was part of the story.
No way.
All these people had the same, that was part of the story, was that they'd go to like wherever they went to, and they'd be like, you're not supposed to be here, get the fuck out of here. Like, seriously, one of the people was like literally the gatekeeper was like, yeah, no, I don't know why you're here, go back. And he's like, I don't want to go back. He's like, you got no choice, you're going back. It was literally blunt like that.
Wild.
Dude, I'm telling you, you gotta just go online and just type in YouTube.
And I wasn't gonna talk too much about my experience, but I can't now because this is directly correlated to it. When I was my trip and my first time on DMT, I was like in this. I saw the light and I was surrounded by it. And I was talking to this angelic being, and she was like, "I'm surprised you're here. Like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing? Like, look at this, look at this." And then all of a sudden she was like, "Go back, goodbye."
Is that when you had your heart attack?
No, that was the first time.
Do you know you had a heart attack?
Yeah, I went to the hospital and they hooked me up to the EKG. Yeah.
Did you get treated?
I did. Yeah, that's a story in and of itself. I didn't even go to check it out until like years later. Like,
what? Because
I didn't have health insurance at the time, and I was like, just like blessed. I don't know how I made it out of that one, but I, ever since then, I was like, put my foot down and like, I don't need drugs. Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, there has to be more meaning to this. There has to be more purpose than just getting high, fucking off, not caring. Like, I'm not here to just get high and have this hedonistic lifestyle, which, half the time I'm thinking, fuck the world. I just want to go fuck off and have a hedonistic lifestyle, which I absolutely could at any point in time. Could move to Indonesia and just say, fuck the world. I'm going to live on, take my couple $1,000s and be a millionaire in a different country. But I think that, running away from your problems is the worst thing you could do. Evil's going to follow you wherever you go. And it's about fighting for what's right and learning the truth and seeking the truth so that you can do what's right and what you know is right. That's what I think the purpose, the true meaning is like, but that's talk about another side tangent.
I got I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget this fucking music.
Oh, you showing me the song that was playing?
Oh, yeah. I can't even.
I don't know if it's copyrighted or not, but I'll link it in the description. I don't want to have this video get demonetized and not put in people's feeds because of copyright music, unfortunately. I'm sure it's a great song. I'm really excited to listen to it.
Dude. I can't even.
We're probably...
I've listened to this song.
It just makes you reflect on that.
Oh my God.
Day. I am sure we're going to be close to wrapping up here, but was there anything you wanted to finish off with saying when it came to the 2 hours you were processing from making the decision of, oh, I would never want to do this ever again, to 2 hours later, I want to do this again? What was that thought process like?
So my thought process after all this happened was trying to comprehend what I went through and seeing the effect it had on another human being, which made it real.
Like, oh shit, this is not just, in my head.
No.
This is something deeper than that.
This is real. When your energy affects another human being by touch, how do you explain that?
You can't. It's unlike anything you've ever learned before.
I've never learned it. Never experienced it. I've heard of things like that. But how can somebody else feel the pain and fear that you have in your body? So that really affected me in a positive way because it made it all real. Because that's a physical thing, and I could see it. And for another grown man to be experiencing what I experienced, and whether it was 40 years of it, what it was, what he experienced, what I experienced in that moment, and I knew that there was still some more left in me. So that's when I kind of reversed what I had originally said. And trust me, I don't want to do it. I want to do
You're not like, I can't wait to do it.
No, I'm not excited to do it again.
It's almost like you feel like you have to.
Almost like I feel like I have to. And it's still scary to me. Because everything is different. You're never going to do it, and it's going to be... So my guide told me, he goes, it's not what you want, it's what you need. So whatever I experienced and whatever you experienced is not what we wanted to experience. It's what we needed to experience to move forward.
Absolutely.
And throughout the rest of that day, I don't want it to sound cold and heartless, but I didn't feel anything anymore. Like, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel upset. I didn't feel nervous. it was like the weirdest feeling I could describe to you. Like, up until that point, like I was like, I didn't care whether I lived or died. Now I just was like kind of in this neutral state of not wanting to feel that, or I didn't feel that need anymore to like not be around. And it was definitely, I, I, I can't describe it as well as it needs to be described, because it's one of the things you really have to experience in order to be able to understand fully what we're saying. Because I could sit here and sing the song all day long, but until you actually experience it, it's just like anything else in life. Until your mindset's going to be completely different when you go through this. It saved my life.
And how long after that experience did you just decide to be sober? Did it take months? A month?
A month.
It took a month of processing that when you were like, okay. Do you think, would you contribute that to help being your sobriety?
Yes, I would. I think that it changed my mindset enough to realize that I was doing nobody any good. So I didn't have any other resort. If I didn't do that, I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you right now. That was
Wow.
That was how bad it was. Like, that was, I never thought in my life that I would ever sit here and admit to somebody that that's how close you come to not existing anymore.
Just goes to show how far you've come.
This last year, even though I've lost a lot, is like undescribable, the accomplishments, because I don't personally feel like I've accomplished a ton, but then I go around and I see like I'm nobody. I'm just a guy. I don't have big support system, not super rich, don't have endless ability to do things that you can do with lots of money. So when I say this, for example, like you go on and just watch any interview with a celebrity or some rich and powerful person that has a substance abuse problem, and how they I mean, these people have unlimited wealth, unlimited resources, and they're sitting there going, this is my greatest accomplishment in life. I stopped doing drugs, or I stopped drinking. And that makes me think, like, I'm not them. I don't have influence. I don't have power. I don't have money. It doesn't feel like I accomplished something that they're talking about. It just feels like another day. So, but at the same point, hearing other people describe it, because I don't think I'm special. I don't think I'm stronger than anybody. I think that we're just different. So for me to do this stuff on my own is, I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it. But when you see influential, powerful, rich people sit here and say some of the hardest things in life were to stop drinking or stop doing drugs, you're like, fuck, man. These people have unlimited resources, unlimited time, money. They can do whatever they want. And they're sitting here singing about how hard it was for them to stop. And I'm sitting here, some random guy. Like, I did it all on my own. Like,
That's awesome. And maybe you never need to go back and do DMT. Maybe it's a different type of substance. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But there's plenty of other options. There's iboga, which is an African tree bark.
well, so this it's funny that you mentioned this, because I had spoke to this guide for years before this treatment, and he described to me all the other ones you're explaining now. And the funniest thing, it was, I couldn't stop laughing. He goes, he goes, man, he goes, I'll give you one thing. He goes, you're a crazy motherfucker. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, he goes, you didn't just do a psilocybin treatment. You went to the most powerful psychedelic
Yeah, in the world.
in the world. And I was like, you asshole. I said, are you serious? I was pissed. I'm like,
There's
oh.
other DMTs too. There's NN-DMT. There's 5-HTMO-DMT. There's so many different types of molecule variations. But 5-MeO is regarded as the most powerful.
Yeah, they call it the God molecule.
Yep.
So I'm like,
and psilocybin is one molecule away from 5-MeO-DMT.
Is it?
Psilocybin is very powerful for plant medicine as well, especially if you macrodose it. But again, I think it's like you have to eat over your body weight to overdose. So there's substances that are very high tolerance, meaning you can't get addicted or overdose off them easily. They're almost considered anti-addictive because if you take them daily, they won't make as impact. Just like you build a tolerance up to drinking or weed or anything, you build a tolerance up to psychedelics faster than anything. I used to have a once a month rule because if I tripped any sooner than a month, I wouldn't feel it.
Yeah.
And so that's the beauty of it. They're not here. It's hard to get addicted, and I still got addicted to them because you can get addicted to anything. And if you're addicted to something, it's probably because it's not a defect, but something in your character that makes you addicted, whether it's due to trauma or a lot of variables, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think addiction. I mean, you could be addicted to fucking picking up trash.
Yep. Hey, it could be considered a good addiction.
There's definitely good addictions. There's definitely bad addictions. I agree with you 100%. I think going to the gym could be an addiction.
Yep. That could be a bad addiction.
It could be a bad addiction too.
Anorexic.
Yep.
Body dysmorphia.
I think there's a lot to addiction. And I think
Could talk hours about it.
I think chemical addiction for us as people is they're very present because
social media addiction.
Yeah, it's just there's too much information for us to process, so we just kind of lump ourselves into a group of people and say, oh well, this is working for them, so let's go hop on, I don't know, so like say you're addicted to TikTok.
Right.
Everybody else is around me doing it. It doesn't mean it's okay. Same as drinking like that. I don't know why I picked drinking. Especially to lose my friend to drinking and then to go right down the fucking path that he did. It just blows my mind.
It is kind of ironic.
Yeah. And but yeah, my guide was awesome.
This goes to show how horrendous drinking is and how horrendous alcohol can be. I wonder why they call it spirits. Some people say it's a spirit,
yeah,
a demon trying to possess you, trying to influence you to do negative things.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience that nothing good comes from drinking. Nothing. I don't have a negative outlook on people that drink. I go to the bar with a friend. I don't have the urge to drink. But I can see how it can grab you and continue to be a roller coaster because it's just so available. Like, why is that available? And I'm not saying make it illegal. Like I said, I don't have a negative opinion of alcohol towards other people. I'm not going to be a smart ass and be like, oh yeah, I can go drink. I could probably go drink and be fine. It's not what I want to do. It's not like, oh, I want to go to the bar and get drunk today. Because like I said, I was never a drinker, never a drug addict. Never into that where it was like, I need to do this because that's like my daily fix of good times, because I can have enough good times without doing drugs or drinking that, like, honestly, drugs and drinking to me, all it was just to hide the pain. It wasn't fun. So even to this day, like, weed is now legal and everybody's like, man, you should smoke weed. I'm like, dude, I don't want to. Like, I don't have that urge. Like, it does nothing for me. Like, I get high and I'm like a fruitcake. I'm just sitting there like drooling on myself. That's not appealing. Like,
Yeah.
I like to think and like be clear-minded. If I were ever to smoke weed, it would just be to sleep,
Yeah.
because my sleep has been affected by trauma in the past. And but as far as like to cope throughout the day, I found that there's nothing we can do other than to like face it. Sounds cliche, sounds whatever, but like,
Simple as that, though.
yeah,
It's not easy.
It's
But
not.
it's simple.
It's not. It's simple. It is simple, and it's not easy. And none of this is easy. Taking the step to even being able to find the person to guide you through a psilocybin treatment, a DMT treatment, ayahuasca treatment, whatever other psychedelics out there. But I truly believe,
Peyote, iboga.
yep, Iboga's huge. I believe that these drugs were put on Earth for medicinal purposes, and they do exactly what they do. And there's a reason that the government makes them illegal.
It's almost like they don't want us to heal.
They definitely don't want you to heal, because there's no money in healing.
But I'd be surprised if you didn't have like 100 more insightful, amazing stories. But due to the cold, I am going to be ending it off soon here. Is there one last thing you want to share with the rest of the world? One last message.
There is. If anybody watches this and just a little bit resonates with you, I can promise you one thing. It is not going to be easy, but if you put yourself in a position where you do not want to be the person that you've been under a substance or under your circumstance, there's no sugarcoating it. You're gonna have to face your fear, face your demons. And realistically, in my opinion, I think that's the only way. Because you can't move forward unless, like, just like, I don't know if we spoke about it earlier, but fear and pain are two very strong emotions, and they can paralyze you for life. And if you don't try to grab those by the horns and fight them, what's the point? Because you're just going to be stuck. And yes, you're gonna have days where you're just like, what am I doing? But in the end, whether it's God or whatever, I'm grateful that I had the privilege to experience the 5-MeO DMT and get to where I'm at in life, where I don't need to have a substance in my body to feel normal. And I don't know what it is. But yeah, my I guess my point is, you have to work at this. Like, you have to be able to say, I got to do this. And it's not easy.
Put the foot down. Flip the switch.
It's flipping the switch. But what I can tell you is that it is 1,000% possible for you to overcome addictions without the standard society has put on you to think that you need to go to AA meetings, you need to do this, you need to get on Suboxone for heroin or whatever.
Go to rehab, detox,
Yes.
XYZ.
You can do this all on your own and be absolutely fine. And I'm new to this, so this is, me talking from a place of just my experience, but it's worth the effort and it's hard.
Well, that is still, regardless of it being hard, a very empowering perspective to just be giving people hope that they can do it on their own, that they can overcome. As you know, it's probably 10 times harder doing it on your own, but it's possible.
1,000%. 1,000%. Don't think that it's not possible. Like,
you can do anything you set your mind to.
Yeah, like I said, I'm nobody, and the fact that I can do this myself, and I don't have any family to help me. This is just literally me. I've had friends and people in my life that have guided me to places to reflect and do all sorts of things that I need to personally do to get myself.
So you're the one who did the work.
There's nobody else that's going to do it for you. Drugs don't do it. Rehabs don't do it. If you go to rehab, you need to put in the effort to fucking.
Nonetheless, no matter what path you go up, you got to do the work.
Yep. That's the bottom line. You can do it, 1,000%. I hope everybody that watches this, it has a positive impact on your life, because I would never be sitting out here on a lake.
On a frozen lake.
On a frozen lake. Talking about something that originally I didn't believe in. I didn't believe in the addiction thing. I didn't believe it would ever happen to me. Here I am. So that's what I hope everybody takes something positive away from this that changes your life, in whether it be a very small way or huge way. This is possible. Possible. You can do it. You're just going to have to suck it up, buttercup.
That is a fantastic way to leave this off. I hope one day maybe I have you back on and finish some of your amazing stories. I know you got tons more. But thank you again so much for taking the time, man, even in the freezing cold.
Love it.
This was brutal, but it was worth it to get this message out. And with that being said, guys, take care. Peace.
Oh my God, I can't fucking believe it. It is nice out though. Dude, those chairs are comfortable as shit.
Great. Phone died from the cold, but it's all on the audio.
Oh, good.
Thank God. I know it was on up until the point we sat back down, because I went back there and checked it on it a little bit. But that's how you know. It wasn't because my phone was low battery. That's how you know it's cold.
Yeah.
Let me just pray the receiver is still on.
Hey, listen, if it fucking goes off and you want to do it again.
Well, at least we have at least a couple hours of footage. Let's see here. Drum roll, please. Yay! We got it all. Let's fucking go. Thank God, man. That would have been a nightmare.
Just like my buddy who wanted to get all that video hunting to get nothing.
Talk about a tragedy. Those are the real tragedies in life. Missed memories.
So when you put those in, you shut off?
Yep.
Does the recording stop?
When the second these go in the case, the recording stops. It is freezing.
It is definitely cold.
Alright, no one can hear us. Thanks for listening to episode 3 of the Care2Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, consider leaving a like, maybe even commenting a question or a suggestion down below, as well as sharing this video to any loved ones to help get this message out to those who need to hear it. And as always, I like to end these videos off with a little bit of a quote, if you will. And that is, if we don't fight for our rights, we're going to lose them. If we fight, we may lose. But if we don't fight, we've already lost. Take some time to think critically and introspectively about that. And as always, folks, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you take care. Peace.